And he'll do just that. My God, what a round. SSG takes the map and the series. He's only got 2 bullets.
And wins that one too. Dark Zero will take the series.
The man's a maniac. 3 kills before he gets dusted off. It's match point now for TSM. And Lasting wins it.
It's a flawless round from Oxygen.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're from. But today is day 2 of the Rainbow Six NA Major. I'm going to be your host, Velly, and I'm here today with my boys, Jesse and Jacob. Fellas, Jesse, you first. Did you get a good sleep last night?
Velly, I'll be honest, I didn't sleep much because I was so excited for the games that are going to be happening today. It's a beautiful snowy day here in Alberta. I'm sure the guys in Las Vegas will not say the same thing, but I hope it's nice there too. We're going to continue our quest today to find the best team in North America, so I'm pretty excited.
You got that right. And Jacob, I'm going to say it right now. You're looking kind of beautiful in that pink, man. How you feeling this morning?
I had to break out something that was like more of a loud color shirt than just the white one I was wearing yesterday. It feels good, and this demonstrates how I feel about the games today. It's about to be, well, I can't say red hot. It's the closest thing I had to a red shirt. But the games today are going to be better than the ones we had yesterday. It's only 2 on the docket. I am very, very pumped for how today is going to go.
Well, today's game is going to be full of love, and that represents the pink. But talking about today's games, let's take a look at what's happening today. Let's bring the bracket up on your screen. The first game is going to be amazing. It's going to be on the winner side of the bracket. We're going to have the world champ, Spacestation Gaming, facing off against Team Solo Mid. Bolo and Merc were red hot yesterday, so I'm excited for that matchup. And then after that, the loser will face off against your August NA Major champions. It's going to be Dark Zero. And right now, Jacob, Jesse, do you guys think that they're ready for what's happening today? Oh, by the way, for those of you that are just tuning in, you missed out on yesterday. This is LAN, and you know, I know I asked both of you, but Jesse, how much has LAN changed things so far?
Oh, so much. Veli, the games have been fantastic. The style of play, it's better. The frags are so good to watch. I mean, LAN has been a breath of fresh air. I've missed it. I know the whole community has missed it. It's not, you know, the bells and whistles and everything we're used to with the crowd, but it's still so nice to finally be able to watch some Siege on LAN. And the players are saying it too. They love the experience.
Yeah, it's definitely been hype. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get today underway. But before we do, first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Shot for me.
Perfect.
Yes, that was a nice shot for me. Good job. Welcome back. And you know, yesterday was gonna be, yesterday was legendary. It was amazing. Let's take a look at the bracket to see what exactly went down. The first game that we had, Jacob, if you could describe it in any way, Dark Zero against SSG, what would you say?
Well, Dark Zero had the early advantage, and then SSG came right back to win the darn thing. It boosted confidence. It was a confidence builder because SSG came in as the number 4 seed through the qualifier, and Dark Zero were the number 1 seed in stage 2. It was really, really nice to see SSG bounce back in that game.
You got that right. And TSM, Jesse, were they looking dominant yesterday?
For sure. I mean, they were 2 close maps. The 2 might be a little bit deceptive for the fight that Oxygen put up, but in the end, TSM did manage the clean sweep. They managed to win that match and go on to the game against Space Station. TSM are looking red hot, just coming off of yesterday's games.
Yes, Dark Zero, they were able to edge it out against Oxygen, knocking them out of the event. And Dark Zero, they're your lone remaining team down in the losers bracket. So we're gonna see who their opponent's gonna be after the first game today. But also yesterday, we had more fun than the matches. We actually compiled a lot of tweets and memes that you guys put out there in the community. I'm gonna say this right now. Rainbow Six fam, you guys are hilarious. So let's throw them up on the screen. The first one has to do with the team booths. Yes, finally we're on land. We had a bubble in a way, and you see the players are safe and they were able to play in that room, but it has been great. But the next one is gonna be my favorite. Jacob, I'm gonna let you talk about it. It's from my man Chowder.
Yeah, we were cracking up on this one behind the scenes. You looking like Hugh Hefner, that's got to be one of the highest compliments you've ever been offered, my dude. You were looking fly yesterday.
No, alternate
honestly,
universe.
It really is though, and it's a shame because we looked at this and Jesse and I both went, we need to change up the way that we look for the next day so that we don't look like that.
Well, you're looking good today, man. So the next one, oh, you guys know him. He's always
like
outspoken.
This.
Let's see what Super had to say.
Listen, Super had some interesting opinions on the way that Fox was playing in that final map, and I can't blame him. You know, Oxygen pulled out a lot of crazy stuff, and some worked, some didn't, but at least he can never be booted out of FPL because he's proven that he's willing to pull this stuff on the biggest stage.
Yes, and after that, you versus the other guy. Jacob, how you feel about this, man?
I've still got that picture, man. I'm gonna be auctioning that little piece of paper on it at some point, just with the laptop. Nice. I gotta make something happen. Jess is over here with actual hardware, and I'm just like, please help me.
God bless, Jacob. All right, now this one was hilarious. Hyper went off yesterday, and I say we call yesterday the flu game for Hyper. Jesse, what you think, man?
Man, I'm happy that he was able to bounce back and just play so incredibly well. There were still a lot of concerns whether Hyper was even going to be able to play because he was having some health problems, but then he was easily the best player on Dark Zero. He popped off, particularly in that last match against Oxygen, to keep themselves alive in the tournament. So huge props to Hyper. He did fantastic.
Now,
Hyper being Michael Jordan is such an apt analogy, too.
Oh my
exactly,
gosh, it's perfect. Right now, this next one, Caliber Jacob said, Veli, what does strong mean? And I gave him the definition. Can you tell him what it means, Jacob?
Strong is strong, but when you need to add more emphasis to it, you just add a K to the beginning. If you could listen to the comms from this one as well, if you take a second and listen to how the reaction for the SSG win is in that room, it is incredible how much fire they've got, and it feels so good to actually see it in person.
Yeah, so you know why though? It's because it's on land, and Thinking Nate had a lot to say about it. Throw it up on the screen. He, for one, along with the rest of Space Station Gaming, they love the fact that they're playing online,
yes,
and
sir.
we love the fact that we're watching them play online. And I'm gonna say it, these are the best games we've seen so far this season. It's been beautiful. But the very last one, RIP Intero. Let's throw it up on the screen.
This is how we ended the stream yesterday. All the highlights, all the hype, and then right at the end, it's a little... Hi, Parker.
He does this every time he cuts his camera feed. He always leaves production a freeze frame like this, so we're just like, well, we'll throw it up. This is just what we do behind the scenes all the time. There's always these little funny moments, and we're like, hey, we'll show the rest of the world how dumb we can be when the cameras aren't going.
Yeah, so for those of you out there, I know you guys are meme lures. Just go ahead and put them up on Twitter, tag us. We want to see them.
Yes,
put it on
please.
Reddit too. Please, and thank you. Now, let's talk the major format in case you guys missed out on it yesterday again. We're gonna have a double elimination bracket, and the best of 5 finals will include a 1-map advantage for the winning bracket team. And for those of you that are like, oh, that's unfair, no, they deserve it. They went through that entire bracket without losing, so shout out to that. And when it comes to points in SI, Jesse, you're the mastermind of it all. Can you break it down?
Yeah, well, I told you yesterday the main thing is if Oxygen don't get 4th, they're in for the 6th Invitational. If they do get 4th, their fate's out of their hands. And, well, we've decided that yesterday Oxygen will get 4th, which means the rest of this is less important but not completely irrelevant. The big thing for these next teams is that there's first seed on the line. These next few points will determine seeding at the 6th Invitational. Both Dark Zero and TSM have the potential to get first place in the 6th Invitational points and get the best seed heading into the biggest tournament of the year. So that first place is still very valuable. Of course, there's the pride and cash that goes along with it too, but we know that our top 3 are headed to the 6th Invitational for sure.
All right, now, fellas, it's time. Let's break down the first matchup of the day. Starting off with Space Station Gaming. Jesse, You have a lot to
Yeah.
say about this team, and you were really impressed. Oh, excuse me, the prize pool. This is my fault. I'm sorry. The teams here, they're
sad.
I was excited for the matchups. In first place, they're gonna be running home with $62,500, and I'm gonna let you guys know now. If I was halfway decent at this game, I'd be trying out for this proceed. Second place, $31,250, all the way down in. You see, Oxygen, they walked away with $12,000. I feel bad for them. It hurt to see them lose yesterday, but moving along, we have a great game today, and at the top of the bracket, like I said, it's going to be Space Station Gaming facing off against TSM, and let's talk about the team. Space Station, Jesse, you love what this team showed us yesterday, and you had a lot to say when it came to their coordination, and it looked kind of like a blast from the past from what we saw at SI when it came to this team.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's nice to see the difference between what they're bringing out now and during the qualifier versus the regular season, because there have been some role changes. Before, it was Canadian and Rampy usually on the roam, and Canadian had to sort of juggle giving intel to Rampy and sort of telling Rampy where to go and where to get kills while also staying alive. Now Canadian's come back and Faults is joining Rampy on the roam. Canadian's still able to feed that intel to Rampy, but now he's also got Faults who he can try to feed intel to, and he doesn't have to worry so much about dying early on in the round. So Canadian's had a little bit of load lifted off of his shoulders. Faults has been fantastic, so aggressive, so, exciting to watch on these roam plays with Rampy. They've been a fantastic duo, and I love the teamwork coming out from SSG.
And Jacob, you hear that, right? He's talking about how players have elevated themselves. Rampy really didn't have too good of a season like we thought he would when we had the second stage, but this team, they struggled, but they made it back to the top, and now they're one game away from the finals. What do you have to say about their improvements so far?
Well, they've been on this slump that we've talked about for the past couple of weeks since the, SI, when they had their season 11 placement. They had to make it through this major through the qualifier. It's been a pretty long established thing for them. However, they had such a good showing against Dark Zero yesterday. It does give me a little bit more confidence, to want to root for them to be in their corner, because they're made up of 5 world champions still. This team has not needed to make an adjustment in over a year at this point, and you just have the confidence that they will still be able to back one another up. They'll be able to work through their mistakes. It's almost like the G2 effect in a way. A G2, a team of world champs, some of the best players in the world, bar none. It still kind of rubs off on SSG in the same way. So for them to have the performance that they did yesterday, and I think in 1 second we'll actually be able to show 2 of those players we wanted to highlight. One from yesterday and one who had an absolute ball-out series, if we can show these. Yep, there we go. Fultz is the guy. 2 aces over 2 different maps in the previous series. 42 overall kills. One of the best stat lines, even though they only played 3 maps yesterday. Both of these guys balled out, and we still want to highlight Rampy because he was the guy that we talked about yesterday. We still kind of want to see if he can produce results like this through the rest of the weekend.
Oh, yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's Space Station Gaming, but enough with them. And Jesse, I got to ask you a really important question. What time does Bolo play?
Oh,
right
boy.
now, Veli, it's happening in just a couple minutes.
All right, so Team Solo Mid, spearheaded by Bolo and Merc, and the rest of the team full of all-stars. This team has been incredible, and Jacob, you and I, we were talking earlier on. You love their consistency. This is a team that's been performing at the highest of levels, and we haven't seen a drop yet, and hopefully they can continue it in this bracket, right?
Well, we haven't seen them drop. The only thing that we still need to figure out is when they're going to win a championship. This team won DreamHack Montreal all the way back in 2019, and since then, there hasn't really been a lot else much from them. They've really needed to come into their own as an online team, and they have. Over the course of 2020, it's always been consistency. Second place finish in Season 11. Second place in both Stage 1 and Stage 2 of the NAL.
God.
So the question is, when do they break through that glass ceiling? When do they say, now is our time, and when do we win something big?
Jacob, how are you rolling like that when we saw Bolo just destroy terrorists?
Right.
His aim is ridiculous.
He's destroying terrorists. It
focused.
doesn't matter until you actually get in game. But to his credit, Bolo actually had one of the more solid stat lines from yesterday as well.
Just Bolo teams, right? And talking about Bolo, Jesse, who are
Yeah.
going to be the X factors on this roster?
Well, I mean, it's gotta be Bolo and Merc. Those are the 2 players that I think stood out the most when we saw the games yesterday. Here's their stats up on your screen. Merc in particular, I thought had a really fantastic map against their opponents of... Who did they play last time? What was it?
Oxygen.
Yes, it will.
It's still early.
It's been a long
okay.
day. Yeah. Merc did fantastic, though. I thought he had a really high number of impact rounds. Bolo as well. He's kind of the star player of TSM, and you saw him warming up. training that aim. He's one of the best, I think, young players in all of North America. Merc as well could be, on that title, and I was really impressed by what I saw from them.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, fellas, Jesse, it's your turn once again. The maps just came in, so I want to see what your thoughts are when it came to this map ban phase.
I think this is going to be a close one right off the bat. I mean, there's a lot of maps that these two teams share inside of their map pool. We'll get the graphics up. Theme Park out first, then goes Consulate. Coastline picked by TSM. TSM have not lost this map since the 6th Invitational when they did play it against SSG. Spacestation have not lost this map since yesterday when they had an OT 6-8 loss against Dark Zero. Both teams are pretty good on this map, though. Clubhouse, I gotta say the same. I mean, this is a classic for Spacestation, right? They used to play it all the time, but recently they've been picking it less. It's actually the only map that they didn't play during the qualifier to get to this major. And for TSM, a lot of teams pick this map against TSM, but they do usually perform pretty well on it as well. So I think this will be one where they can hang tight and play a close game against Space Station. And then Villa, man. Spacestation Gaming are 7-1 on this map over the course of the NAL. That's not 7 rounds, that's 7 wins. They've done really well on this map, but their one loss did come to TSM, who also have only lost this map twice in the last year against overtime, top 4 overtime teams. So, I mean, this is going to be an incredibly close map pool, and I think any team could win any of these 3 maps.
Yes, and thank you for that, Jesse. If you guys remember, let's take a step back to the last time we were all together at LAN 6 Invitational 2020. I know you guys remember Space Station against TSM. It was some of the best gameplay we have seen. And speaking about that, Jacob, Space Station, they rolled away with the win. I want to hear who you think is going to pull away with the win in this series right now.
See, Jesse has a really good point. Because of the map pool and how close and consistent both teams are, usually this is a really, really tough game to call. This is probably my favorite rivalry that we have in North America, next to Disrupt and the Sonics, because whenever they play, you just feel like they can fight forever. It's kind of the same thing here. So if I had to pick,
spit it out.
I'm going to go with the consistency that we talked about from TSM. I don't think this is the end for SSG. However, I want to go and hope that TSM, it's a little bit of personal bias, they can actually break through that glass ceiling.
All right, Jesse, he has a 1-point lead over you when it comes to predictions. I did not forget about that.
I'm great at this. What can I say?
Jesse, you used to be big brain. I don't know what's going on, man. Who do you think is going to win this match?
If you lose a prediction battle to me, Jesse, that is a fate worse than death. So you better pick your words carefully here, my dude.
Listen, Jacob's got some great points. This is an incredibly difficult match to call because I think these teams are incredibly close in skill. We also haven't seen them play on LAN in so long. TSM have been consistent, and I really liked what I saw from them yesterday. But there's one thing Jacob's forgetting. That SSG are the LAN kings, and when things get tough, when things get intense, as they will today, SSG have proven consistently that they can win those close, long, high-intensity matches. TSM, they're a great team. They're consistent, sure, but when you get to those grand finals, TSM consistently falls short. I've got to go with Space Station Gaming. I think they're going to be able to take this series, head to the grand finals with a map advantage.
There it is.
There it goes. Let's get it. All right, so before we launch the game in the lobby, we're still waiting for the players to come in. I'm going to ask you guys a favor once again. I sound like Bernie Sanders, right? Please follow the Rainbow Six social pages. Not gonna lie, it's pretty fun. We have great social media guys there, great memes, highlights, updates. Just plug in entirely to see what's happening in the Rainbow Six esports world, right? And also for this event, for a limited time early, we have merch available. So make sure you go to our shop, check it out, and if you like something, support the scene, get it, and yeah, hopefully it looks great on you. Now, this is it, fellas. Jacob, you're going for TSM. Jesse, you're going with the world champ, Space Station Gaming. We're going to see what's going to happen coming up now. This is it. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, Valley. Thank you very much to the rest of the analysts. I appreciate that you changed up your outfits today, just as Kix and I did. We are very much fall colors.
Oh yeah,
Kix, you look great.
As you do. I love the turtleneck.
I've never worn one before. I figured I'd try my hand at it.
You gotta spice things up, per the season.
Yeah, I mean, I have a large neck, so I just felt like covering it up today,
All right. Well, I mean, I think it looks absolutely fantastic on you, Parker. Really matches your hair. Now, we do have a community poll for today. For those of you wondering, this one's an especially fun one, or at least I think so. It is a direct head-to-head. Who will have better engagement for the major? On the one hand, you have SSG. On the other hand, Bolo. So who's going to have more community engagement per the major, SSG or Bolo.
What do you think, Michael? Let's do our predictions right now.
you want me to throw in on this community poll?
100%. Of course I do.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it really depends on who puts more effort into it, to be honest. Like, if Bolo drops a couple tweets, then I don't know.
It's game over.
It's gonna be game over at that point. So I mean, but SSG is pretty fierce with these things. Like, they take this sort of stuff seriously. So I don't know. It could be a really interesting competition. I'm gonna reserve judgment. I want to see what'll happen.
I'm excited for this matchup, regardless of what happens with the social media content. It looks like we've got all of the teams now in the lobby ready to rock and roll. And there are your team cams. Okay, Bosco.
Bosco?
No, did you see the tongue thing you did?
No, I missed that.
Oh,
sorry, that's my bad.
Anyway, lads, at your desks, make sure that you're getting all of your tweets in. I think it's going to be a very quick meeting for TSM before we launch into this game. The maps are an interesting one, Michael. We'll be starting on the same map that Space Station started on yesterday, which was Coastline.
Yes, sir.
And yet somehow the two maps that were played by TSM, both Oregon and Theme Park, are very noticeably absent. SSG is going to be replaying two of the maps that they fought close battles against DZ on. You think that at face value, you think that hurts or helps Space Station?
So there's always the discussion of how much information you can glean from a VOD. And there wasn't a lot of time between the match that SSG had and now. So the amount of time, the amount of information that TSM would have been able to glean is slight. However, since TSM wasn't playing while Space Station was, they were obviously, doing their due diligence and paying attention to the live performance. I'm sure there will be little things here and there that each player will be able to individually pick up on and maybe counter as the play comes out here. However, I do also think that SSG's strat book is deep enough where they're not going to be stressing it too much. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. At most, I think the bans will probably be affected here.
You're talking about the operator bans, yes?
Yeah, the operator bans. Sorry, I should elaborate. I think the operator bans will be affected here. TSM knows what to expect for SSG's bans on two of these maps, Coastline and Villa, because they have already seen what those bans will be, and generally they don't change that much on ban or on map, and like in the duration of a major per map.
The operator bans, I suspect, will be different between these two teams. Obviously, TSM plays a completely different style of gameplay than we see from Dark Zero, and Dark Zero loves to bring out some of those cheesier operators, if we want to call them that. We can speculate as much as we'd like about those bans, and well, we're going to find out pretty quickly if our theory crafting is good. But let's get into the matchup because these teams are ready to rumble. We'll start off on Coastline for the very first match of the day. The loser of this match will end up fighting against Dark Zero in our second matchup. But in the meantime, we're going to try to get into the game in just a moment.
We are waiting to be sure that everyone is ready before we actually start getting into the gameplay, but we're on the cusp. We're right next to the match actually starting. One of the cool things about us being on the LAN build is besides just the actual amazing gameplay, because for those of you who don't know, LAN Siege is vastly superior to online Siege. So many of the major issues that you associate with online Siege just don't exist on the LAN build. So apart from that, one of the great things that we have on the LAN build is the ability to pause the game in a custom match. So whenever necessary, the production could just like hit the pause button and then we can resume when we need to. So that's one of the cool things about it. I absolutely love that. I wish we had that on the live build so badly. But
you and me both, friendo.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Hopefully for the future. I mean, I could see it.
Hopefully. I mean, it's cool to see the teams be able to compete on LAN again. It's great to be able to actually put faces to the players and see them all assembled. As long as safety precautions are being taken, then there's no reason to not celebrate the fact that they're on camera and they're playing on a LAN build. And, well, I mean, we even saw from the results yesterday, some players and some teams perform wildly differently when they're on LAN.
Absolutely.
So, a team like SSG, for example, historically thrives when playing on LAN. Now, most of these teams are playing in team houses side by side, but you're still playing on an online client. There's still issues with ping.
Yeah.
There's still issues with ghosting. The game doesn't maybe feel as fluid as some players would say because it's more immediate when you're sitting across from your opponent, or in this case, in separate rooms.
You can't hold angles.
So, what did you say?
What?
What did you?
I said you can't hold angles. Sorry, I was listening to production. Yeah, you can't hold angles online, really. It's swing or be swung right now, especially with what's happening with the servers. They're completely different than they were the last season. So, for whatever reason, it's really hard to hold angles on an online build, and that changes the way that you play the game in entirety. Like, just by itself. And as you've seen, I'm sure many of you have noticed, by watching this major, we've seen many instances of people, wow, holding angles and winning gunfights. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is it's just like the way that teams play on LAN. I don't know and can't really break down the psychology behind it, but there are players who historically just don't show up on LAN.
That's true.
I don't know what it is. It could be nerves. Maybe it's that the gameplay being so different obviously doesn't suit their style of play. Maybe some of their opponents often rise to the occasion. Then you get players who struggle online who come to LAN and are an absolute beast. I mean, yesterday's OXG matches with Biologic were great examples of that. Biologic has had some significant struggles online, and then he comes to LAN and he's one of the best players on his team. Now, I thought in the OXG matches that spoke more to the team dropping the ball than to Bio rising to meet the occasion. Because as Troy and as Fabian and as other IGLs have said, if I'm the one leading the team in kills, that's a massive problem. It doesn't necessarily speak to their ability. It speaks to the rest of the team not doing their job. But you've got two teams right now, both TSM and SSG, who we are just moments away from getting this underway, that both do very well on LAN. These are teams that don't sweat the idea or sweat the pressure of playing in front of a crowd. Obviously, there's no crowds here. But still, playing on this LAN client, sitting next to each other, staring down your opponent, or at least knowing that your opponent is a room away, etc. These teams are absolutely capable of elevating their gameplay and tend to play their best Siege on LAN, so I have no doubt that today's matchup is going to be spectacular.
Guess we'll find out when we find out. For those of you wondering what the holdup is, it is in fact myself and Parker's fault. We
refuse to start the game.
Will not start this game. We just don't want to do it.
Yes.
Actually, so it seems to have been resolved, but the thing that we were waiting on was the lighting to be fixed in Space Station's room. Now that that is all solved, the game may begin, and the bans will flow. Seems we'll be starting with a Ying ban from TSM, and SSG will ban out Ace.
See, it's weird that they needed to fix the lighting in Space Station's room, because you'd think that with them playing on LAN, it would already be lit.
Yeah, no, you'd think so. I'm sure it is, in the metaphorical sense, very lit. Yes. But
joining
maybe
Vigil and Ying or joining Ace and Vigil, or joining Ace and Ying, it will be Vigil. Oh my goodness. I was writing down Vigil's name in the notes and it just stuck in my brain. Valk will also join, so there we go. TSM taking care of Valkyrie. Both Valkyrie and Pulse are exceptionally strong operators on almost every map. Valkyrie tends to have more practical application on Coastline, especially in the hands of a team like Space Station, who really do enjoy running her.
Right. So with those bans now done, the defense is not feeling too much stress, I think. The Vigil ban means that there's a little bit of an alleviation on all other fronts for the defense. It gives them many more options in terms of structure. However, I would argue that a Vigil ban is actually better on Coastline. Not better than Valkyrie. The Valkyrie ban is paramount, but the Vigil ban is better than like a Maestro or a Mira, because more often than not, how long your roamers delay on this map defines the outcome of the round. So getting rid of one of the most prevalent roamers, not a lot of utility coming from Vigil, but a lot of time wasted by Vigil, is certainly very powerful. So I agree with that ban. The rest of the bans are all sensible too. I mean, the Ying is just something that some teams don't want to deal with, or so it seems. In the SSG versus Dark Zero match yesterday, we saw Ying banned every single map by DZ. Now, they didn't ban Ying against Oxygen, so this is obviously an SSG-specific thing. Nobody wants SSG to have their hands on Ying.
I can't say I blame them. And she's been used and referred to as a bunker buster style of operator with the way that those Candelas function, especially if there's a Wamai and a Jaeger on the board. And with a Valken Vigil ban here, it will free up both Wamai and Jaeger to be ran quite reliably. TSM doesn't need to use both of them for now. They're just going to run with the Jaeger outright. Vigil also a tremendously strong operator on this map, so I think SSG making the right call. We have seen Vigil get target banned against Merc before in the past. Lots of teams will do that against him because of the way that he's able to make space, he's able to roam, and, well, just how much more work needs to be done from Space Station to drone him out.
Speaking of droning people out, Bolo in the main lobby here, playing right now, tell your friends, is going to be trying to stay completely anonymous for as long as he can, to delay for as long as he can. I talked about this briefly earlier. It really is the amount of time that he can kill off-site that aids the defenders in winning when the actual site execution comes. That's the name of the game here on Coastline.
I don't know if they've spotted the Jaeger playing upstairs just yet on that wall of punch holes, but Merc has 2 panels, 3 panels make that to try and aid him, and he's just going to fall off right away. Not too concerned with holding down that spot longer than need be. He's burned 90 seconds off the clock, and he finds some safety in the 2 bomb sites below. Double bars being the scene, obviously, for the very first round, and TSM is itching to take engagements right now. Chala, in particular, sitting on cool vibe stairs. He is waiting for whomever might come his way from SSG, and that's Fultz, whose drone gets shot out, it appears, giving away the position of somebody at the bottom of the stairs. The rest of TSM all have a pretty good spread around the map. They are close enough to being within striking distance of the bomb site without actually being there. The 2 lone exceptions to that are both achieved, and Bolo playing inside a lobby, as you talked about from Bolo before. First kill goes to Bosco as he takes down Merc. So the Jaeger, I guess, just being a little bit too aggressive for his team's liking. Achieved falls as well, and now Thinking Nate cannot outduel Bolo, so at least Bolo has his teammates back. And a little bit of revenge. Still, the advantage sets up SSG nicely. The pressure onto TSM for the remainder of this round.
Phone calls will continue that pressure. Mute Jammer is R in play, though, so that's awesome. Fultz going for an aggressive peek here, and he sees Bolo, but doesn't land the shot. Delayed reaction favoring Bolo there, but Rampy will land his shot, so the roamer eliminated. But look at the time. Yes, there's a 2-man advantage, but you have to push into the site now or never as we start clicking down to the last seconds. There are C4s in play here for both defenders. They can deny the plant. As Geo gets Fultz, it's looking like they might be able to win it on time. First C4, and it misses! Miraculously doesn't hit Canadian, but Geo will peek and win it on the 000. TSM take the round regardless.
Tough situation to find yourself in at the end of that round, though, for Canadian, and this might become a reoccurring theme today, as it was yesterday. Those that watched the DZ match remember the amount of times that Canadian was stuck having to plant without any support, if limited support at all. And Mint won both times. I want to say both times Mint was able to get the better of Canadian. And now, the very same situation. First round here on Coastline, Canadian tries to plan. He gets caught out and he gets killed in the middle of the plan. Doesn't even have the time to get off it. And it's his former teammate Geo who does it. I struggle to see anything that was really all that different from TSM as to how they played map control on round number 1. Obviously, holding up in lobby, being able to head through courtyard, which allows you to also control some of kitchen. It allows you to control the white stairs in main lobby. It's a powerful spot to be in, and having both Achieved and Bolo able to play off of each other is, I think, a wise strategy, because they are both among 2 of the finest players in North America. Right. They don't tend to miss their shots, and they play effectively off one another. You saw it when Bolo was able to get the kill after Achieved went down. So with that said, I mean, everything seems to work out for TSM, and the 20-second meta ends up claiming another casualty. Time and time again on all 3 maps that we saw from Space Station play and the 2 maps that we saw from TSM play yesterday, timing obviously being a significant influence in how the rounds go, but they decided a lot more rounds than they didn't, it felt like, and that first round well, just only furthers the streak.
So much of that has to do with the fact that while SSG hunted down 2 roamers, they couldn't get the third, Bolo. That's so heartbreaking to have to go on that wild goose chase for so long and then lose it on time as a result. Now, early on here, Space Station will open the drop. TSM, Achieved in particular, doesn't want to let the attack have Penthouse for free. That's sensible. If you let the attack take above Kitchen, defending the site becomes very hard. There's a Goyo shield and an ADS protecting Merc on 90. He's trying to assist Achieved in this delay process. Bosco is alone on the VIP balcony. Dangerous game to play as the Habana. Now, his destruction is not actually important on this site necessarily. There are some walls that would be nice to open, but nothing essential for the attack. Just convenience items. So Bosco can play entry on that role. Bolo will be the first casualty. Stark contrast from the first round, and a nice second kill for Fultz. Excellent reaction there. He certainly is landing his shots, as is Canadian. SSG establish a 3-man lead very early on, and with the buffer of time they have, it's likely they'll be able to extend this into their first round win.
This is actually a bit of an interesting change for SSG to reunite Bosco with the Sabana role and then put Canadian on Zofia. I don't expect this to be a permanent change, but SSG have addressed this in the past, as have Dark Zero, where they will swap up who plays on Hard Breach, who plays on support, depending on the bomb site. And there's a lot of fluidity when it comes to the roles in Space Station. I would argue that they tend to be, with the exception of maybe OXG of the top 4, the team that swaps it up an awful lot. So don't be too surprised to see more of these style of changes if we end up needing Villa. Obviously, we will need Clubhouse, with which SSG will play on.
We'll see when we get to it. It's still so early on here for map number 1. Good use of the gas canisters from Chala, but he gets shut down by Canadian, and now it's just Geo with a sliver of HP. Well, 25 HP. 1 HP, as the ranked community will tell you. Fultz will shut him down. It's flawless round for Space Station. Well executed. I love the patience there. They at no point got ahead of themselves. And that's really awesome to see.
It was an unsupported roam for TSM, as 2 different players ended up getting isolated. The first one to fall was Bolo, and then the immediate follow-up from TSM. And I say immediate when in reality it was about 5 seconds later, which can be an eternity in this game for anybody that's played it at a high level. Still, not exactly the best supported, and down Achieved goes. It's not the spot that you want to find yourself in. So this is one of the problems that teams have with Coastline. And there are a couple other maps that we've seen it on as well, is that if you are not perfectly well supported and you are going to engage in a deeper roam, we've seen deeper roams on Penthouse and Theater when teams are defending Hookah, or we've seen Penthouse Theater when it's been a kitchen defense, which now TSM is going to try for the second time. See if they have any more positive results. But when you play a roam like that and you're far enough off that you can't really get to your opponent's side, when you've got a team like Dark Zero, like OXG, like SSG, all of whom have excellent entries that can make their own space and be able to play very effectively off your drone work. You look at somebody like Foxay on OXG, you look at somebody like Hyper on DZ, you look at the way that Fultz has been doing it, you look at the way that somebody like Merc can do it, or even Bolo can do it, or possibly Achieve. TSM an almost embarrassment of riches when it comes to their entry. You're going to be giving up and surrendering that first pick and getting nothing back for it. It was actually something that almost doomed SSG yesterday, if you remember, because Rampy would be the first pick often on defense, and there was nothing that Space Station would get in return. No trade, no time really wasted, no utility burned. That's a problem. If TSM obviously continue to make that mistake, they're going to start dropping rounds because of it. You need to make sure that you tighten up your roam and how those players are able to work with each other. It looks like they're doing it better now already than in the previous round.
Yeah, I mean, we're still early on, right? But they are certainly tighter in terms of their roaming pattern right this second. You also have to remember, we did see, I want to say it was Merc try to get the refrag for Bolo in the last round, but Fultz was just better. And that's part of the equation here. You're going to have moments where players will just stand out and surprise. Fultz has been that player over these last 2 days of play. Even though, you know, today's only getting started, you can already tell he's going to be landing his shots for the day, based on the limited performance we've seen so far. Now, roam clear is going to be pretty light this time from Space Station, mainly focused on the west side. I think they're just trying to facilitate an aqua take, which is reasonable given that you've got the mirror window up by penthouse. Sometimes you can just commit to not an aqua take, sorry, a sunrise take / above take. So make sure you're not going to be flanked from above, but mainly focus on taking into kitchen from sunrise. Now, the way you actually get this execution to work out for you, though, it's very important that you do get some picks on the roamers, because if you try to collapse into the site and there's still players in lobby, for example, like Bolo right now, then you won't be able to get through the kitchen door because of those footholes that are placed low on the kitchen wall, allowing Bolo a long line of sight to shut down entry.
This is a good time, I would say, being used by SSG with how close they are. I think there's only 1 or 2 more steps before they can begin to pull off this execute. And, oh, there goes a Banshee. We'd seen a deployable shield fall earlier inside of the main lobby. Chala has 1 toxic canister remaining with 40 seconds, but he's not going to be able to throw it out as he gets punished by Fultz, who finds his 4th kill so far. Command of the west side of the building right now, very firmly in Space Station's grasps. Achieved has something to say about that, though. He takes down Bosco. Bosco had yet to die, so that one's broken, and now Rampy dies as well. You can see it's only 2 rounds in, but both teams coming to blows, with SSG being able to strike back after losing a couple players to TSM. Canadian will attempt the plant, forcing both Bolo and Merc to try to get on in. But Fultz is ready inside of lobby. He's going to wait for the next call. It's Merc versus Fultz, and Merc has to adeptly dodge that flashbang, but there's so many raining down. He's also got 35 seconds on the diffuser to be able to grab it, so the objective is going to be the tougher issue. If Merc can fight through the 3 members of SSG, then he might have a chance, but he doesn't at all. Fultz obviously picking up where he left off yesterday. What is that? Kill number 5, kill number 6, something like that in 3 rounds. An impressive mark, and with it, SSG takes the lead on Coastline.
I want to say that round was a 4K as well, so well done to Fultz. He really has not dropped the ball, as you said. He's been playing amazingly well through this map. And again, as I said earlier, you can kind of just feel like he's going to keep that up for the entirety of the day. It's kind of ridiculous, really, because what he did in that round was he just walked into the site. The man walked up kitchen hall and threw the rotate by the mirror window and just picked up a 4K. Like, it didn't even matter. And the funniest part about that is that SSG hadn't cleared out main lobby. Bolo was still in the main lobby. They just kind of circumvented that, I guess. So strange. Well done to Fultz. He has been single-handedly lifting up his team right now on the entry. Not dropped the ball once over these last 3 rounds. Well done to him. Now, apart from Fultz's performance, we're also seeing an abundance of patience and coordination from Space Station. I have to say, they're looking really solid. Not as much of the shakiness that we saw from Space Station in a few of their matches yesterday, and I have to really respect their ability to iron out those creases before today.
10 seconds to insertion. Reloading. 5 seconds remaining.
So Hookah defense now for TSM upstairs. I'll wait to see how it shakes out, because there's a couple different ways you can play out Hookah. I imagine that with the pulse on the board from Bolo, they're probably going to put him down below. That's typically where we see the pulse play, usually inside that security hallway, which right now is at the bottom of your screen, close to where Bolo is, but obviously he's on the stairs to head back up. Security hallway, you can control it and play the office down below. That looming threat with a C4 in hand is damning if a team on attack does not do their homework. They don't flush out the pulse. They don't flush out that C4. We've seen Mozzie's play down there. We've seen Valkyrie's play down there. And additionally, with the floor being shot out on the default plant spot by the A-bomb chassis, which is visible on your screen as well right now, that is referred to as the default spot. You want a plant, that's usually the safest place to do it, because you've got the bomb hugging you on one side and the walls on, I would argue, 2 sides. Any of the defenders that want to push that either have to use a nitro cell or swing, at which case the attackers are lined up to cut you down to size. If you've got somebody playing down below, you can obviously see through the floor that's been shot out. That puts Bolo in an advantageous position should he choose to use it that way, but we'll keep our eye on what the pulse does for the remainder of this round, because we're a minute into the action.
Also love the Goyo shield contingency on the billiards table. That's a nice little feature. Right now for Space Station, they appear to want a hookah execution. That's why they're taking Sunrise. Buck downstairs and Sunrise can open up underneath anyone who would be defending in hookah, though that is rare. Usually you hold hookah from base and Cool Vibes and the other site. But push off the TSM anchors, SSG shall. They've accomplished this to an extent. I can't do anything vertically about the players by base. They're going to need to confront that directly. A lot of it comes down to the individual engagements, and it's very rare to see too many picks on players at base. What isn't rare is a VIP run out here from Achieved. He'll take down Canadian, that's your Zofia, and almost get away with it if it weren't for that meddling thinking nade.
417 in hand, and he manages to finish off Achieved, who gets the very first duel in favor of TSM in this matchup. With it, he's also killed a lot of time and taking out Canadian, and Canadian playing on less of a support role at the moment. Well, that could prove to be a bit of a problem for them. They do end up getting the last laugh on SSG's side as down goes Bolo. So you don't have to worry about the pulse. You don't have to worry about the Nitro cell. Flashbang's tossed up onto Cool Vibe stairs, and Merc will have to get out of there as quickly as he can. Both he and Geo are spotted on Cool Vibes. And now Merc absorbing an awful lot of damage. Chala with one, but Merc finished off from Bosco. Now it's Fultz up the stairs. He's in the midst of the smoke. Chala playing the angle over to Billiards. He'll have to stall for 10 seconds. Diffuser going down. Bosco's not going to be able to do anything about it. Rampy falls to the smoke, so Chala in a 1v2. He'll creep up, but there's a cross, and Fultz has it. Fultz is just on one today, and with it, SSG's fortunes continue to rise. 3 rounds in a row for Space Station.
Fultz is making this lobby of stars look like children right now with his on-point play. That's the key to it, if you ask me. It's positioning from Fultz. The way that he's using his every tool to his advantage and not overstepping his bounds. Right there, many players at this level might have gone for a push or tried to reposition, but Fultz understood he was unknown, and he had the cross. Patience kicked in, and he held it for the win. The really funny thing about that is the smokes from TSM's side were very well placed. So I think it was Chala who was doing that. So props to him for that. Unfortunately, he couldn't clutch it out, but, difficult to beat Fultz in a 1v1. What isn't difficult is to pick up the SSG team skins. All it takes is a little bit of money. You can get them in the Siege store in the esports tab. They directly support Space Station. You can see them on your screen right now. It's the Ella skin. It looks pretty fab if you ask me.
TSM Zofia skin or the Ella SSG skin? You need to pick one. Which one is it?
The TSM Zofia skin. Now, the sleeves on the
Just
Zofia...
writing down biased here in my notebook.
Let's be honest. The sleeves on the Zofia skin are... They're too cool. The sleeve idea is so cool. I can't believe that we haven't been doing it since the dawn of skins in Siege.
The technology just isn't there.
Evidently. They did just come out with a new type of skin very recently. I think it was altering the 3D models.
Oh, the 3D skins?
Yeah. So they can make new, they can refresh the guns, I guess, in a sense. I can't wait for more of those.
You and me both. See if they get competitive play, because they are just gun skins. I don't think there's a rule against gun skins.
No. I mean, it would make sense in competitive, I think.
Gun skins and charms are allowed. It's just operator uniforms that have, some of them are verboten.
The restrictions.
Well, with that said, a good segue here, just like TSM is currently restricting SSG's access to Kitchen. Well, thank you.
Yeah, this is a really good hold for Achieved. He gets a little aggro there. He's just trying to make Space Station think about it. He's trying to keep them active so they don't have any, passive win on this engagement. He will get the first set of Exkyros, but the buck above will prove superior. C4 goes out. There it is. But he dies before it gets the kill. Interestingly, actually, he detonates the C4. It's just a little bit delayed. Rampy, though, very well positioned, and the roam in Kitchen is shut down by SSG.
90 seconds, though, or thereabouts, was taken with that roam, so I wouldn't say it's all lost for TSM. In fact, it's pretty good timing on their part for holding out the remainder of this round. It's a double bar defense, So as much as the fight was over kitchen, it's just map control. It's not site control by any measure. Fultz, who's at 8-1 through 4 rounds, once again maintaining that 2.0 KD that we talked about from both him and Hyper yesterday in the match we casted. Well, he's going to continue to loom inside of kitchen. Geo takes some damage on a very common spot inside of Sunrise. He'll have to fight his way out. He's got the vector to do that. A minute to go for SSG.
Seems like it's going to be a bit of a long minute here as Space Station are being very methodical. They were good at doing this in the last round, being patient with their advantage. They're going to continue that. Chala doesn't take any fire damage, but he is forced out of Sunrise Bar. Geo will be the first casualty of this site take, and there goes another as Chala in the hallway is shut down by Rampy. That's 2 for him on the blue window. Now it's all on Merc and Bolo. The Roamers, they'll have to come home to win it. Doesn't seem likely, but what a shot from Bolo. Down goes Canadian. Suddenly a 2 versus 3. Make that a 2 versus 2 with only 13 seconds left. This is actually very winnable for TSM if Bolo and Merc continue to land their shots. Bosco and Thinking Aid making the entry. They need to get the plant. There's no time. It's going to be a 2v1. It will be forced coverage from Bosco. He has to land everything, and it just won't happen. Merc stops the plant in the nick of time, and TSM will take the 2v4.
This got risky for Merc there as he was watching the common entry spot, but the decision was made by whomever on TSM. I don't know who it was, but it was a beautiful call. The decision was made for Merc to fall off of watching the hatch upstairs inside of Hookah. Merc was playing the soft wall, and he had a line of sight over towards Mudroom, which is where Canadian needed to enter, and it's where at the tail end we saw both Thinking Nate and Bosco enter as well. It's the common point of entry to Sunrise Bar, and it tends to be by the default spot where the bomb and the diffuser get planted, or where the bomb is and the diffuser gets planted. Merc falls off of that position, and I was getting a little worried watching that because it certainly seemed like he was about to fall victim to poor timing as Canadian marched in just a second later. But the call that was made was that Bolo, who was in courtyard, would push up to cover that spot on his own, while Merc would get closer to the bomb site rather than have to risk the hatch drop. With 20 seconds remaining at that time, it turned out to be a very good call in terms of strategy, and it ultimately was a huge part of why they won that round, if not the reason for winning that round, because as Merc was descending the stairs in Cool Vibes, he picks up a kill inside a blue bar. That means that Bolo doesn't need to worry about that position any longer, and Bolo can rotate through blue bar to the opening that was created inside of Sunrise, while Merc sneaks his way in to play behind the L bar in Sunrise and just simply wait. It was a very smart strategic decision. I don't know if it was called by either Bolo or Merc on the fly, or if it was something that was done from the IGLs from TSM, but ultimately that was the correct call to make in the late portion of that round, and it completely denied the advantage that SSG had despite being up in a 4v2.
You know, that's the funny thing about it. Right now, you've got Merc and Bolo with 2 kills each, and they just won a 2v4.
Yep.
It's hard to really... This is one of the little contributing factors, and there are many, why it's hard to measure an individual's performance based on their KD. And that's not going to stop the community from doing it. But if you actually want to put a little bit more thought into it, there's another good reason why. Now, TSM, once again, upstairs roam. Bolo has switched onto a dock in the main lobby. He wants to be a little bit more self-sufficient. That's what I'm picking up here. He probably also wants to have the magnification that comes with that dock. It's not as great as it once was, but it's something on the 1.5. And I think he'll probably be well-suited to holding the main lobby by himself. Doc is one of those operators that does well as a solo at this level. And I know that kind of sounds counter to his intended use, and in many ways it is, but he's still useful as a solo. 1x Gyros will detonate on that wall, and that's going to make holding 90 very difficult. It's a trade in the main lobby of sorts. Thinking Nade exchanges himself for Merc, who's actually over by the luggage door. And that's not ideal for SSG, actually, as they lose the man and the time. But Rampy will add to the tally for SSG and take down Geo. Advantage now swings in their favor.
Geo's been having a rough start to this game, and I know that his stats are the same as Merc's, but both... I mean, I'd argue that both of them haven't had the greatest of games so far, except for that last round on which Merc played exceptionally in the final moments of that.
Right.
Geo has just felt unimpactful along with Achieve for TSM. Now, I don't suspect that this is going to last for the remainder of the match. At some point, both Achieved and Geo will wake up, and with it, this will end up being a close match if SSG are not capable of keeping with them because of all the firepower that's on this lineup here for TSM. What this has done, though, even though Thinking Nate is gone for Space Station, is it allows SSG to take complete control of the top floor, and it's going to force TSM into really uncomfortable spots. Chala making the right call to board up Service as best as he can. He's still got 2 toxic canisters, and he's got Achieved by his side. That's going to leave the one X factor being Bolo, and we don't know exactly where the Doc is going to look to strike. He's posted inside of the main lobby. This is where he was before, and he's got the long angle, but he gets smoked by Bosco. What a shot from the Hibana, who very immediately pivots over to the mirror window. He doesn't know Achieved will swing on him, and he loses it, but there's only 1 second left. Plant is going down. Chala will have to stop it, and he won't, but Achieved will with a second left. What timing for TSM? They had almost certainly going to lose that round, but just in the nick of time, they managed to take Canadian down, and the first half is essentially a reset button. These teams will go on to the second half tied up 3-3.
Beautiful play from everyone involved, truly. That's a heartbreaker for TSM. You could see they had the setup, they had the numbers, it looked like they were going to be able to lock it down, and it just, or rather, it's a heartbreak for SSG. They had the setup, they had the numbers, they looked like they were going to be able to lock it down. Yada, yada. TSM, on the other hand, excellent job of retaking there. I want to put a particular focus on Chala's use of the gas canisters, because he, throughout the first half, was using those gas canisters perfectly. It doesn't seem like he makes a bad decision with them, at least not so far, not that I've noticed, and I really got to respect that. So props to him. Space Station had the lockup, but they didn't have control of the garden, and because of that, it was too easy for Achieve to make the rotation there and stop the plan on the long angle. I was talking earlier about how important those holes at the bottom of the kitchen wall are. You know, it's something that maybe you don't pick up on. If you play ranked a lot, you don't see it probably more often than not. All of those kitchen walls are reinforced. The reason why professional players will open up those kitchen walls is because you can not only stop the push in through the kitchen door from main lobby if those walls are open, but also you can stop the plant by the kitchen window if you are in garden. So in that instance, that's exactly what Achieve did. He made the long rotation, he got the control, he stopped the plant in the dying seconds of the round. And that's great awareness there from Achieved. It's great awareness from Chala as well to assist in delaying on other fronts with his gas canisters. Good overall round from TSM.
So that first half ends up being a total wash. We saw some signs of brilliance from both teams, and I mean, the scoreline will tell you that neither team was better, but you can still get a good idea of how decisive those rounds were and whether one team was more practiced and maybe got a little lucky, or maybe just fell victim to poor timing. In this case, I don't think there was a better team in that first half, as the score would suggest, and I don't think there's much deeper reading that needs to be done into it. Both of these teams are looking mighty fine on Coastline. This is TSM's map, so I can echo the same thing that we said yesterday in the matchup of SSG versus DZ on Coast, which is, well, if it's your map and you have the favorable side, you want to be able to run away with it. Well, now TSM does. So this is where the rubber should meet the road in regards to TSM's own abilities. If SSG can keep it close here, then I think that's a win for them. And even though this is TSM's map, it is worth noting that both of these teams are pretty good on Coastline.
Their awareness strategically certainly is on par. I think that's been made evident by this first half. One thing that I find interesting is what we're seeing right now. Look at this. TSM have committed Merc and Bolo both. They're trying to push up cool vibes on a hookah defense. This is very hard to do, and it's proving to be a tremendous waste of time currently. I'm not really sure what TSM's hoping to get out of this, but they are putting themselves in a corner the longer they commit to this push. Space Station are aware that it's happening and are simply delaying it, as is standard. Bosco is using his gas canisters to deny the push. There's the Wamai throwing his discs. All the ADSs are by Vase. This should be a pretty easy holdout for SSG if everything goes to plan.
See exactly what happens. Two guns from SSG looking towards Cool Vibe stairs, and I have a feeling that if Well, if SSG lands their shots for TSM, it will be anything but cool vibes. There you go. 2 of them for TSM knocked down. Both Achieved and Merc off the board. Geo will follow. Bolo taking some damage now.
Whoa.
Refrags from Bolo as he lines them up, and he hits both, but a Nitro Cell will be his undoing. And crossbody karate from Fultz over the deployable shield will give SSG their very first defensive round win on their very first attempt. Look at that double duty from Fultz.
Parker, remember we were talking about yesterday? You say something and the opposite happens. We were just talking
Yeah,
about.
you're like, this is gonna be a good holdout for TSM.
Well, no. I said, did I say TSM? No, I meant SSG. If I did say TSM, I meant SSG is gonna be able to hold this out. No, what I was talking about there was, I was talking about how the strategic depth of TSM earlier, and then we saw a round like that where there was no strategy that was evident. I'm not really sure what TSM was thinking. This push up cool vibes. That's not a strat. Gas canisters used, ADSs were in place, C4 to deny. I don't know. It was a really simple confrontation for SSG. They had every advantage there, and it to me detracts from the statement or the assertion that both of these teams have strategic depth on this map.
I was a little confused with the way that TSM wasted so much time on the bottom of Cool Vibe stairs. I mean, obviously it was timed around the Lion push, and it... I'm going to stop myself before I go any further because
Yeah,
it's one of those things where we have the benefit of hindsight. Because honestly, if Bolo's gunfight breaks in his favor a little bit earlier, and they don't lose the first pick, and Thinking Nade doesn't end up winning that fight as Wamai, then TSM gets very quick control of Cool Vibes, and that's an entirely different round. It really just broke down to gunfights. The strategy from TSM was flush out all of the ADSs and magnets that were in that position. You didn't have anything to deal with the deployable shields. Welcome to the 20-second meta. Everybody has to deal with this. But after that, you use the Lion, with the theory being that, well, you push all at the same time. 1 from the hookah balcony, 2 from Cool Vibe stairs, maybe somebody below, maybe you've got somebody over by Aqua, who knows? You get called into action all at the same time. The EE1D ends up being like the sound of a starting gun. Obviously, not how it happened at all for TSM, and they lost their gunfights every single time they tried to push. They didn't get anywhere. And SSG outdueled them. Gunfights break another way, it's an entirely different round. So that's why I said, that's why I wanted to stop myself. But explain why. Still, I didn't really like the strategy of it from TSM. I think that there was a lot of more work that they could have done.
well, I would say that it's setting yourself up for failure the way that TSM executed that round, because yeah, it comes down to the gunfights, you're right, but also every single one of those gunfights is going to favor SSG just because of the setup. But speaking of gunfights, Fultz has been winning his, and he'll win the first in this round. Merc goes down in VIP. Roam Clear struggling a little bit here to get something done. It's curious because Fultz is doing that pick. He's getting a little aggro in VIP, but more importantly, Merc is going solo into VIP. There was no assistance, no refrag potential there for TSM. Just, hey, Merc, take VIP, can ya? Okay, thanks. Kiss on the cheek.
There goes 1 EE1D, the very first one, with a minute and a half left in the round. Just a little bit past that. I know that Merc tends to get quite a big spotlight on him, but you're right. I mean, he's playing solo. He's going solo. It's a problem. Now Chala enters, largely solo. Rampy 2 big kills. He's on a rampage. He breaks double digits along with Fultz now. This SSG team, they've got the depth that they need, and both of their gunners are currently showing up. It's hard to match them when they do. On TSM's side of things, well, you can look at Merc going 2-7 right now. He does tend to get beaten up on social media for his performance from time to time. Today, he's going to need to be better. If he is, then this is a very winnable map for TSM. Another EE1D will come out with 30 seconds remaining. Bolo goes down, and while Geo assesses the body of his teammate, but that's about all he has. He'll barge into double bar, starting in blue bar, but he's got a doorway in front of him that's barricaded off. Wall shot to hell and back. Long angle. He picks up a kill on Nabasco, but will it be impactful? There's another on the Thinking Nade. Fultz is really low as well, but the problem is there's only 8 seconds left and no exit from the room that he's in. Down Geo goes. It's yet another for Space Station, and they are presently up 5-3.
So, appropriate timing here. TSM will call their tactical timeout. Now, luckily, since we're on land, we can go ahead and pause things. So each team gets a tactical timeout once per map. And here's TSM's. They're going to go ahead and give it a think. And rightfully so, because honestly, those last 2 rounds have been a struggle to watch in terms of TSM's attacks. I'll be blunt in saying that the strategy just isn't there. We were talking about in the first round how there was so much time just wasted. TSM lingering at the bottom of Blue Vibes. There's Blue Vibes. I smash everything, Parker. At the bottom of Cool Vibes stairs, or Blue Stairs, depending on what you want to call it.
No, you're just going to gloss over the fact you just said, I smash everything.
I didn't mean it like that, Parker. We're not doing phrasing.
Surely nobody will clip that out of context.
All right. Let me carry on with the analysis, okay? I'm gonna finish this. So TSM wasted a lot of time at the bottom of Cool Vibes on the first round. Second round, they're doing everything solo, and you can see they're trying to link up. They're trying to work as a team, but it's just not happening. TSM is disjointed. I haven't used that word in a while, so I'm gonna use it here. And that, I think that was a well-timed timeout. They need to correct it.
They don't really have a lot of time left. I know that we now just said the word time a dozen times. But
what time is it, Parker?
It's 3:03 p.m. right now.
Oh, thank you.
On the East Coast.
Gotcha.
Which means it is noon o'clock for you.
Yeah, noon 03.
Noon 03 right now. I think this is when you need to take it if you're TSM. Some teams do like to wait until the final round and they're on match point. Strategically, I've talked to a lot of coaches and they think that it's not exactly the smartest move, and I think that's correct. You know, Pojo is a very capable, very adept coach, and I think that this is the right call to make. Now, I don't know if it's the strategy right now that's failing TSM in terms of gun skill. Because if we remove the strategic element, they're just not landing their shots. They are not winning their gunfights. The structure can be there, but if you are losing duel after duel, how much does the structure actually matter? And add to that the fact that both on defense and now on attack, TSM is sending in the troops without any of the cavalry, and the troops are falling quiet before anybody can do anything to help.
Interesting E1D there. I'm not sure. I think it was the entry by service he was trying to facilitate. That's curious. Look at the way Merc is playing. He's droning himself in here. And generally you'll have somebody drone the Ash in so the Ash can get this quick. And right now this is taking seconds out of Merc's entry. He's stationary while he drones himself in. And it's because the rest of TSM is clearing out other parts of the map. There's so many other things that they're trying to get done. And they haven't clearly, like, I'm not sure if it's they haven't rehearsed this, you know, or if it's just, or if, you know, it's an ad hoc strategy maybe. It looks pretty normal to me. It's a VIP kitchen clear. You're going to put pressure on the site and the roamers at the same time. They want to pinch the players upstairs and not let them get back to the site. That's why they're cutting off kitchen before they actually attack them. But I don't know. Is it going to work out? And once again, time is a major consideration here. We're getting close to the last minute, and TSM still has yet to pick off any of the roamers. They do have kitchen control, though, so at least there's that.
I don't know if Merc is aware of Thinking Nade's position. A drone scoots by, gets shot. If Merc gets the right call, well, he's going to get swung on here. Merc turns his attention one way with a minute to go. If Thinking Nade just holds this position, well, you said swing or be swung. We'll see which option Thinking Nade takes. As there's another flash dumped in front of him. He's got Rampy above, just waiting patiently, but Rampy is so low on HP. Bosco falls, and now finally TSM have been able to get this fifth gear. They're starting to fire up. Down goes Fultz, or Fultz takes out Achieved, and down goes Merc as well, so SSG answers back, but the plant is going down. Nobody can stop Geo. Oh, Rampy, you saw him! You saw him, Rampy. There's the case, and you can't really do too much about it. Finally, Geo is punished from above. Rampy has at least a bit of redemption, but he, Fultz, and Thinking Nade will need to close in on this bomb site with match point being on the board for TSM. Down goes Bolo. Chala has all the kills for TSM. He's going to need to ace clutch at this moment. A 1v3. Rampy so low, so is Fultz. That L85 will be able to tear right through them. Waiting to see if he'll go off. There goes Fultz. You'll need to swing. And there's another! How about the ace for Chala? What an incredible play. My goodness. Every single one is his. Nobody's touching that diffuser. Not under his watch. The timeout, well, it works well for Chala. And because of him and him alone, TSM take the round.
Beautiful play there from Chala. He got the entry. He helped the plant. And he held it in the post plant. The ace clutch. That is one of a kind. Well done to him. TSM having these standout performances are keeping them in the match. We had Geo clutching up earlier. Words are hard. We had Bolo and Merc clutching up earlier together in tandem. Chala's turn now, it seems. Achieved has even had his own moments. It's been a big day for each individual on TSM. But the team play has been certainly still a struggle. That was a very slow start to that round for TSM. Lots of moving parts that easily could have broken because they were alone, droning themselves in on the entry everywhere on the map. But SSG did not get aggressive. They did not force the engagements. And as such, they were not able to push the initiative against their opponent. Also, SSG lost control of blue. And it's really unfortunate that they're going to lose blue bar like that, especially given that the correct holes were open on the lobby side. That's why TSM, or it's one of the reasons why TSM cleared out over by kitchen, service entrance. That way, the defense can't deny the blue bar plant. It was a nice little feint and then jab in that blue bar, because the feint would have been probably the upstairs clear. It looked like they were going to commit a little bit heavier to that, but TSM diverted all of their top floor clear over to office and blue bar for the plant itself.
That end-around play as well for TSM was played out perfectly by the way that Chala was able to hide in ruins, because it's hard to pressure him from the window in Sunrise. It's hard to pressure him from the hookah balcony. You don't really have a lot of options unless you keep Rampy upstairs playing off the big window and then have Chala pop up. But I don't think there was any information for Space Station. I don't think they were aware of where Chala was. So you assume that he's going to be playing outside by the window, but you don't know exactly where. And well, at that point, there was 25 seconds left. Rampy was on 1 HP. I think the last thing that SSG wanted to do was stack up, but it didn't look like they have many options. Still, perfectly played by Chala in particular. TSM now keep it close. Would have been match point for SSG if they had pulled off the unthinkable, but then they run into just Chala things.
Nothing too eventful happening so far this round. Again, this blue stair strategy, but this time there's more pressure actually happening from the hookah balcony. So it's the same execute for TSM. They obviously know something that we don't. We'll see if it works out for them second time's the charm. I think that hookah balcony pressure is going to be paramount on this execute, because last time it really wasn't that apparent that there was anyone on hookah balcony. In fact, I don't even think there was for most of the round. And they didn't do anything. This seems to be a setup for a rush, pinch, execute. The gas canisters are going to be the only thing that seriously delay it.
Bosco's getting really aggressive, far more so than the previous round. There'll be an Ash directly in his line of sight. Merc could get punished for this if he doesn't look the right way, but Bosco misses his shots, thinking Nate gets the very first kill, but it's technically a trade tied right back. Another EE1D is burned, while the ADSs and magnets look to be exhausted at the top of the stairs. Bolts with some damage is thinking Nade's position known. Now it is. He picks up one. He knows there's another, but only 6 bullets left. Won't be able to reload as the man of the hour from the previous round marches on in. A Nitro Cell claims Bolo, but Chala has the position he needs. He needs to cover on a cool vibe stairs, but he falls. Geo is all on his own. Down below, he's got a lot of work to do. 30 seconds and the 417 in hand. 2 separate members of Space Station will await him, both Fultz and Canadian. This is a tough spot to be in for Geo. It's winnable, but he has to play it perfectly. Trying to bait them out by going down with the case, the diffuser in his hands, but nothing will come of it. Good patience from SSG and a good read. They realize that with 7 seconds and 11 seconds on the clock, Geo will be vulnerable for a period of time. Down below 7 seconds, the only way for Geo to win this is to get all the kills, and he's not going to do that. I don't even think he's going to get a single one. Nobody will. 3 people remaining in the lobby, but the clock gives the victory to SSG. With that, it's match point.
Okay, so Space Station are taking their tactical timeout here, because why not? It's an opportunity to plan things out and to think about what they want to do to lock this map out completely. I really don't... Listen, I know that TSM, okay, the way they've set up that execution, they've clearly scrimmed it, and they decided they liked it. That's cool. I think that they need to do away with it. At least Space Station is not the team to be whipping that out on. Maybe there is a different team that will be more susceptible to that pinch strat, but I get the idea, because normally when you put TSM in a blender strategy like that one, it works out because they are the superior blender players, if that makes sense. They are the fraggers. That's how people tend to think about Team TSM at times, and they tend to work really well in those situations because they do a lot of their execution in unison. But in that round, Space Station just stood their ground and made TSM work for every inch, and they made TSM hurt for every inch. And in the end, the pile of frags that came out of the engagement just favored SSG. And on top of that, when you only have one player up, there's no one to cover, there's no plant potential, dying seconds of the round, all that time you spent setting up for the strategy really is going to be your undoing. So, I don't know. I don't think this is the strat against Space Station. And as you said, Parker, earlier, and I will reiterate now, we luckily have the benefit of the top-down view and hindsight. So our perspective is different. But this is the moment now where if TSM in OT ever go to that site again, maybe they bring a different strategy.
I didn't want to be the guy to say, because that was exactly when hindsight came out, was the last time we saw TSM try to take hookah, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
But now this is, 2 rounds in a row where the strategy seems to be, well, we'll pressure blue and just run up as quickly as we can and get a couple picks here. And I think it worked better this time.
I think this is the hookah balcony.
I mean, the hookah balcony, but you're funneling in through a choke point. And the thing is that SSG has line of sight on that from the back of billiards. If anything, wouldn't you think that maybe putting somebody over by Aqua to distract would be a smarter idea? And
probably.
Well, that wasn't the case, because we saw 3 silhouettes on the hookah balcony, one of which had to drop down to go to Cool Vibe stairs after Achieva died. So not entirely sure.
It's not the play. Not
like we said, we have the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
That said, match point for Space Station on TSM's map. This is huge. There was a bulletproof camera that was aiding and abetting Rampy's play over by Sunrise. All these reinforcements tossed out, all these barricades tossed out, all of it will try to slow down the advance of TSM, who march on in, knowing that it's a kitchen take. Mark will grab some of Mudroom, and there goes an EE1D with Rampy scrambling to get out of there as quickly as he can. And there's been a small change now, as TSM can continue to push up. Goo mines from the Legion have been pushed elsewhere, meaning that, well, they're going to run into them if they haven't already droned them out. And you'll need some more drone work, as Rampy is still just constantly being pushed back and back and back. He's now made his way up to VIP.
He doesn't seem to be stressing that rotation, though. I mean, SSG has lost Sunrise here, yes. You could see by the way that they're playing, I don't think they care. And I think that makes sense, because TSM's executions have been so labored. The delay is measurable here, and I think that Space Station have read into that and are counting on TSM tiring themselves out before actually going for the execute. Metaphorically, of course. Because, I mean, it's been working. That thought process has been proven sound by Space Station on their defensive half. Wait for TSM to set up, and then nothing will come of it. So the lethality of the site execution is what's being called into question here for TSM. They're going to need to change not only our minds, but they're going to need to prove it on the field, or this first map is already over.
What is really remarkable, if you look at the scoreline and we just fixate on kills alone, there are 26 kills for TSM combined. Rampy and Fultz alone have more than that. So for TSM, they have 26 frags. SSG has 42 at the moment. That is a massive gulf between these teams, especially given how close it is. And I know it's not all just about kills, but TSM are going to need to find a little bit more. And they'll start with Bosco Down he goes to Merc with Chala, Merc, and Bolo all finding the score sheet. Thinking Nate will try to hold out. He picks up 2 kills, and he's got the diffuser down as well. He pivots towards the bathroom and slowly inching up. He'll need to find his target. There it is. A 3rd kill, a 4th almost. Pistol out. Diffuser is still down, but Rampy's in on this one. Inbursts achieved, but he won't have any time at all. Rampy just needs to play keep away. Map number 1 goes towards Space Station. They win it 7-4.
So I gotta hand it to TSM. They get a little bit more bite into their execution, but it does not matter. Again, the thought process that SSG brought to the table, let TSM tucker themselves out, works once more. That first map looked like it was pretty close in the first half, but in the second half, when SSG was allowed to defend, they really found out TSM's whole game plan and countered it very directly. Well done to Space Station.
On a map like Coastline, kills matter more than usual. And, well, if the numbers are correct, that was what? That was 29 kills for TSM to 47 for Space Station. That is a huge, huge difference. Over 11 rounds to only get 29 kills? That's not going to cut it. With that said, that's it for us. We got an analyst desk to come break down the information, but before that, let's throw to a break and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Nice shot from me. Perfect.
Welcome back, Space Station Gaming, taking map 1 away from TSM, and I'm gonna let you guys know now, Space Station has a secret weapon and his name is Foe. So Jacob, Jesse, tell everyone all about how Space Station were able to pull away on Coastline.
Well, the 2 players that we highlighted at the beginning of the stream, Bolts, Rampy, those 2 guys cleaned up so many kills just by themselves, but I think part of it's because SSG seem like they're on a roll from the end of their Dark Zero game from yesterday, whereas TSM definitely seem a little more rigid. They're not as fluid or flexible. It seemed like when they were going for a couple of pushes, they didn't want to adapt on the fly very well to what SSG was bringing, especially on defense. They had their moments, but SSG ran away with this one.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that on attack, Faults was really starting to tear it up in the first half of this map, and then Rampy really started to shine. Once they moved over to defense, of course, I thought both players were great on both sides, and this is kind of goes back to when I was talking to Like, and I was like, do you have any surprises, any secret strats that you're going to bring to this? And he's just like, we're going to play good on land because we're good at land. And that's what we've seen, and I've loved it so far. It's been a real treat being able to watch Space Station through all of their maps so far.
That play right there, I love what Thinking Nate was doing. The fact that Thinking Nate stayed alive and was able to make those plays, I remember like we were all ooh and ahhing in our Discord, and I said, yo, ain't nobody stopping Thinking Nate, but look at top of the board, wasn't nobody coming close to the duo, the X factors that the analysts called out you guys before the game started. Foltz and Rampy, 28 kills combined. That's incredible. And Jesse, speaking of kills and Foltz has been amazing so far in this series. By the way, during the 5th round, Foltz had as many kills as all of TSM, which was a total of 8. And at that point, I said, okay, TSM, they're gonna have to start picking it up, but you were definitely impressed by Photis Roam Clear.
Yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit. I thought his positioning on attack was really nice to see in those first couple of rounds too. You can go back to round number 2 and round number 3 where they were going for those kitchen attacks. And the first time they attacked on kitchen, he was going for this roam clear to take out the players up above, and he goes for the drop inside of luggage, drops security to kill the player in security, then runs back up the lobby stairs to get a second pick onto a player up above him. And that's just like smart positioning that you wouldn't think. If there's a player in luggage, well, they're probably just going to push through luggage, but he drops down instead. That was really great adaptation, threw the defenders off, and they had no idea what was going to hit him. And then just the round afterwards, you know, where he was more so just running in through sight, it was a different push from Fault, again changing it up, mixing things up for TSM, but ran through sight, got a bunch of kills, and then the post plant repositions right where they wouldn't expect it in the middle of the lobby, able to get a couple more kills in that post plant. I thought that Fault on attack really did a great job of staying vigilant, making sure that TSM didn't know where he was going to be, and he got a lot of kills because of it.
And you pointed out something important. You said he was able to do that through adaptation. And Jacob, I'm going to throw this one to you, okay? Now, speaking of adaptation, Space Station, they threw some good looks towards TSM's way, but, you know, it wasn't anything too tricky. And what happened around Cool Vibes where TSM were just unable to adapt to whatever Space Station threw at them?
Well, there were two hookah defenses from Space Station where it focused a lot on a Cool Vibes defense specifically, and a big part of that is Bosco playing smoke. Typically, if you have a smoke in play, you want to put him more towards the Aqua side of the map when you want to defend against Billiards, but instead SSG employed him towards Cool Vibes stairs, and that probably should have been a massive warning flag to TSM to not try to push up Cool Vibes and instead go for an Aqua take, because it's far easier to do that. What does TSM do instead? They put all of their focus on Cool Vibes, both times with a smoke sitting in practically the exact same spot right at the top of the staircase. What does that do? TSM push right up into smoke. They have a crossfire do SSG coming from the hookah side of things, and there's no chance for TSM to make their push in. That's on the first time SSG defended Cool Vibes. The second time they did, they only had 2 players. SSG also only sent 2 players, and they still couldn't make it work because of the smoke play from Bosco. It was a really good strategy, and TSM needed to make a call sooner to go for a different take, because both times they couldn't pull it out.
Yeah, and one thing that TSM did well, or a player on TSM, Jesse talked to me a little bit about it. Chala the clutch god, and when we saw him outside that blue window, Jesse, what was going on in your mind in that 1v3? Did you think he even had a chance in that clutch?
No, I mean, the thought process was at first, all right, Chala's got nothing, they're gonna get this disable, and then you could see the outlines, like Chala couldn't, right, because it's through walls, but we could see them like, oh, they're getting kind of close, oh, they're kind of lining up, they're all in the same position, they're right by the window, and then Chala gets all 3. Combine that with the 2 that he got before, and yeah, that was an ace on the round. So I mean, Chala did well. I thought that overall, I think this map was a little bit more one-sided than the scoreline suggests, because they got 4 rounds for TSM, right? One was Chala getting an ace, which great from him, but not necessarily a team effort. And then the other 3 were defensive rounds. 2 where they managed to stop the plant as it was going down on 000 in a player disadvantage, which is not usually one where you're going to win. And then another one where we saw, what was it, Merc and Bolo win a 2v4. Oh. So I felt like a lot of these rounds, even that TSM were winning, weren't rounds that they should have won. This 7-4 might have easily been like a 7-0 if they hadn't gotten some clutch rounds.
Really? A 7-0, Jesse?
It could have been there. It could have.
Oh, I'm loving the both takes. And Jacob, you said something?
TSM just didn't seem like they woke up yet. I think one map in, it might just be a case of shaking off a little bit of that uneasy feeling when you first start out a game for the day, but these guys are also professionals. They've been doing this for a long time. So to have a game like that that doesn't seem very fluid for TSM almost kind of seems unacceptable to me.
So Jacob, you said you disagree with what Jesse said, and heading into map number 2, it's safe to say TSM, you know, they're warmed up, right? You think Clubhouse is going to be any different than Coastline?
I would hope so, but the problem is we're heading to Clubhouse and SSG is the team that TSM is facing, so I don't know, man. I might actually be afraid for one of my predictions for the first time this weekend. Just,
Jesse,
I don't know.
When these 2 teams face off now, who is the strongest team historically on Clubhouse, and what makes them so damn good?
Alright, Space Station are obviously the team that you're going to think about when you think Clubhouse, because when Space Station were at their peak, they were undefeated on Clubhouse. There was a stretch of months and months where nobody could touch them on Clubhouse. But I gotta stress this because I feel like the community doesn't really recognize it. It's fallen off. Space Station have lost this map multiple times. It started with that stage 1 loss against Disrupt Gaming, and from then on, you know, they've slacked a little bit, I'd say. Teams have figured them out, and just that drone denial strat that they like to play, that style that they like to play on Clubhouse, isn't as good as it used to be. So Space Station have fallen off a little bit on this map, and they're still good. I think they still have a winning record in the NAL on this map, but it's not the powerhouse that it used to be. And for TSM, heading into this, again, they've been pretty good on this map. It's not been, you know, their best ever, but don't think that just because TSM, you know, aren't Space Station, or maybe aren't as structured as some other teams, that they're slouches at Clubhouse, because they have really shown some good results on this map before.
Yeah, you said it right. Don't think TSM won't show up. Now, speaking of TSM and Space Station Gaming, we actually had a community poll, and the question was, who will get more community engagement for this major? It was between Space Station Gaming and Bolo. We had it on our social media page, and I'm gonna let you two guess who won that one. All of Space Station versus Bolo. Who won?
Bolo doesn't lose Twitter polls. This is a known fact in the Rainbow Six universe. If Bolo is in a Twitter poll, he will win it. That's
Also,
just...
doesn't Bolo have more YouTube subscribers than all of SSG's social media platforms combined or something like that?
Just about. Yeah, Bolo's a content
I want to say
guy.
he's got more.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's see what the results are. Production, throw it up on the screen. I have a feeling
There it is.
Bolo
There it
outclassed
is.
an entire team and organization. That's going to be incredible. Ubisoft, I'm just saying, you have a content god on your hands. You know, we would like to see more content from Bolo and the rest of TSM and the pros, but now that we head into the second map, this is it. TSM, if they lose this, they will go down to the losers bracket, the face-off against Dark Zero, so they're going to try their hardest to pull this one out on Clubhouse. So Kickstar and Intero, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Veli. Much appreciated. That first map was a pretty brutal showing for TSM, for their fraggers, for their gunplay. And they're going to need to do significantly better on Clubhouse. I think the analysts nailed it with the way that they said this is still one of SSG's strongest maps. If there is a team that is going to thrive on Clubhouse, it's going to be Space Station. Now, they've been knocked off here before. They have lost the map. They are not immortal. But TSM, if they play the way they played on Coastline, this is going to be a quick 2-0 for SSG.
I do agree with Jesse, though. I think it's important to reinforce the fact that while it is one of Space Station's stronger maps, statistically recently, it hasn't been their best map. I mean, if we're taking a look, if we want to like pinpoint a team in North America who's the Clubhouse team, it's probably Dark Zero right now, but I don't know, that's debatable. It really is. There's the back and forth is strong on Clubhouse, but what isn't back and forth is the merch for this major, and you could go ahead and check that merch out right here on your screen in just a moment, but also you can check it out in the official Ubisoft merch store. It's available there for a limited time only, just for this major.
It was a great transition.
Thank you.
It was a terrible transition.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I
But
recognize
you
it.
nailed it. After that,
I just wanted to get it to like flow out, and I was like, you know what, I don't know where to go with this, so I'm just gonna drop it and see how it works. And sometimes, the terrible transitions, they can be more memorable than the good ones. So that's something.
I think that's the case usually.
Yeah.
Like an advertisement or something like that that's so bad it's good, and then you're like, oh, well, now I'll remember this because of how terrible the transition was, or oh, now I'll remember this because of how cheesy the commercial is, etc. Hire us.
Marketing.
We will hawk your stuff.
Have you seen those ads where somebody's playing like a game that's like so brain dead easy and they mess it up? Have you seen those? Like they have to like a pull something, and it's like just pull the first one, not the second one, and it's that simple, but they pull the second one. And then
you're talking like the mobile game ads?
The really annoying ones.
Or the infomercial ones where you have the most comically inept people on the planet who just like they open their oven door and just bare hands try to grab a casserole dish.
Yeah, those ones.
And then drop it on the ground, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so hot!" And
Why
it's like,
is it
"You
so
need
hot?"
the oven glove." You need the oven glove, and it's like, you need a brain. You don't stick your hands into an oven anyway. We have a content video for TSM.
Okay.
I've been told that it may be ready. So with that said, let's toss to it and let's learn about TSM.
This stage hasn't been too smooth for us. We did lose a lot of rounds where we know we should have won them and made a lot of mistakes in the late game.
We had a bad game against DZ. They played very well.
We obviously wanted to beat them after they beat us in the major. Once again, our late round just ended up killing us.
We're looking to change that on LAN.
The team's toughest challenge would be that little hump we have to get over to place first. Just beating one team that we just can't beat.
We always have like good games, and there's one bad game that kind of like wakes us up and kind of jostles us.
We're definitely focusing on fixing that. During our scrims, we try to focus on like late round things and not giving picks when we shouldn't.
We've tried VOD reviewing a lot more.
Watching content on the other teams, seeing how they play and how to counter them.
Just putting in a lot of time in practice.
Hopefully just working harder than our opponents.
Now that we all live in a team house, I would say the synergy, communication, and everything's just getting better.
If we get down like our teamwork and our synergy, then I don't think we'll lose.
We've been grinding every day. We've been prepping for the major quite a bit, and there's only been really one team that has been stopping us, and I think on LAN, we will definitely take that trophy.
Always nice to see the content that's produced, and I can't wait until we are in a position where all of these teams are living in the same place and they can film funny videos or great videos, or videos that are not meant to be funny but are funny, or videos that are meant to be funny and they are not, as we had actually discussed prior to this.
It's all good in the end.
That's true.
So
teams are almost ready, by the way, so we'll be just waiting, I think, a minute or two longer.
Right, and once again, if you're wondering what's going on, it is obviously it is Parker and I. We're holding this up as long as we can to get our moment in the sun, so you can pay attention to us and not the players or the match. So
what we do is we wait, and we are 5 minutes in the future. We wait for you in chat to start spamming "start the game," and once we hit a certain threshold, only then do we release the goods and start the game.
I think it's something like 50,000, 60,000 chat messages start the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, I beg you, pretty please, make sure that you spam your energy by saying "start the game" every single time the game doesn't start when you want it to. Everybody loves it when you do that. Please do it.
Exactly. Thank you, Parker, for saying everything that we're thinking. Now, we've got the bans done here for both teams, as TSM will get rid of Wamai. And with that ban phase finalized, Clubhouse is looking pretty normal. Thatcher's in play, which is a little bit different. Capitao needed to be banned, though. He's proven himself to be a really annoying operator for the defenders on this map, time and time again. So that's a key ban specifically for Clubhouse. But with Thatcher still in play, most of the hard breach will still work, so they don't have to overcommit to that role. As you can see, at least right now, for example, there is no ace being wrought. They're going to stick with the Thermite Habana. That might change in the 6th pick, but I doubt it.
TSM, interestingly enough, is going to be starting on defense on every single map. So for those of you that are watching, Villa is next if needed. And Villa's stats have been very interesting recently, with attackers having more of a fighting chance than previously. Villa is still, like most maps, very favorable for the defense. There isn't outside of Coastline, there really isn't a map that you expect the attackers to do really, really well on. And I mean, even if you look at that Coastline matchup, the attackers only won 4 of the 11 rounds, so it was still a very defender-sided affair. First half was a split, and then SSG ran it up on defense.
10 seconds to go.
In regards to map number 2 on Clubhouse, this is going to be a very defender-sided map.
5 seconds
Yes.
remaining.
SSG is going to need to keep it close if they want to put this one away as a 2-0.
Attackers are moving out.
But
Locate
The win conditions for TSM, Michael, for me, is that on Coastline, the strategy wasn't the greatest, but what was worse than the strategy was their execution on those strats and the way that they took fights. They looked scared. It looked like TSM was on the defensive that whole map.
Yeah.
That was their map. You should not look like you are worried about taking fights. There was very little confidence, very little unpredictability on their defensive roam. Their entry was often isolating, and it was just ineffective.
Yeah,
it was really not a great first start for TSM here. And their guns are going to need to be significantly better on a much more strategic map.
I agree. I think that lack of confidence in particular contributed to or fueled, depending on how you want to look at it, the kind of individual plays that we were seeing an abundance of. So we now know the cause, or we have a theory as to the cause and the symptom. Hopefully TSM have shaken that. They'll be starting on defense. And now this is really important. As Parker was mentioning, defender-sided map, TSM needs to run up the rounds here on the defensive side. They can't let too many rounds slip away from them. And since they're currently on the back foot, that puts more pressure on their shoulders. If TSM were starting on attack, they might even be in a better spot, because the rounds you lose on attack are less significant than the rounds you lose on defense in this map. We'll see, though. We're not done with anything yet. We haven't even had the first engagements yet. Just a roam clear from SSG. They have forced all of the defenders back to the site and are trying to establish some normalcy on this basement execution. No damage done there by anyone. Fultz took a little bit of damage earlier, but Geo and Merc, who are challenging this, are playing a very dangerous game and getting away with it currently.
I can't believe Fultz didn't hit a single target on that one, and he's going to try to drone himself in. He's got the attention of those two members of TSM playing inside of blue, and with Merc and Geo distracted, they'll need to pivot when required, as the execute is going to go down somewhere else. Geo tries to tempt Fultz, but Fultz is just, I don't know what's going on with this man. Rampy falls, but Fultz's opening pick still gives his team an advantage. Achieved low on HP, so is Geo. They will need to scramble inside a church. Nitrocell gets tossed out to try and secure Rampy, but won't be able to get to it. The only question is whether Bosco will be able to retrieve him. Big problem for Bosco is that he's opened up part of that church wall. That's going to allow both Achieved and Chala to play there. Rampy getting picked up by Canadian inside of Connector over by Moto. And now Achieved is going to lose even more of this wall. He tries to rotate. He gets cut down to size. SSG finding the scoreboard quite effectively. First kill for TSM comes into the hands of Bolo. Chala tries his best but can't do anything at all, leaving Bolo to play behind the pallets inside of Arsenal. Diffuser going down, and well, he's going to need to push up. But Bosco has the cross all the way at the end of the hallway with two drones in front of him for added measure. SSG finds the first round here on Clubhouse.
Well done there to Bosco holding the cross. I think Bolo actually could have gotten the angle on the planter if he had looked through the pixel, but he didn't check it before making the push. That is unfortunate. Now, that is not a guarantee, though. I'm pretty sure that is the case. TSM setup there. Nothing in particular that I have to call into being like at fault as per the outcome. I think most of that just comes down to a well-coordinated execution from SSG. And the key to that round, the reason why the church wall execution was an option for Space Station, is just simply the Thatcher. That's it. Thatcher being in play meant that the mute jammers on the wall were not able to deny the hard destruction. Opening up the church wall completely denied playing in church. TSM now have to scramble, and since they've already struggled with holding blue, they're losing one prong to their defense after another, one angle that they can control Moto door and church wall with after another, and now they're in a corner. On top of that, not only in terms of positioning is SSG winning, not only in terms of utility, but also in the gunfights, quite simply. Space Station were racking up the kills on that execution, and yeah, it was really late. I mean, we were in the middle of a 20-second meta round there for sure, but it didn't matter in the end because SSG ended up with enough control to start a plant.
I expect we're going to see a heavy rotation from TSM if they're not capable of winning these sites, by the way. I know that we've talked about it on a number of different broadcasts in regards to why teams decide to go to the same bomb site over and over and over again and kind of smash their head into a brick wall despite not getting the success that they want. TSM tries bomb site number 1 on round number 1, doesn't work, so they immediately flee and come up here to CCTV and cash. I don't think that's the wrong call. Continue to work through it. The likelihood of you making incremental changes and then eventually winning the round or winning that bomb site is definitely possible, but it usually take 1 or 2 tries. I would rather just keep my opponent on their toes, and I think that's the thought process here for TSM. That's a great toss from Merc, by the way. Unfortunately for him, nobody from SSG was nearby, as there was a small opening in which Merc threads the needle with the nitro cell through the top of the wall into logistics. And he falls back because he's got the safety and security of a Vulcan shield just behind him. He can play in between the two bomb sites. Achieve lurks down below as we hit the halfway point in round number 2.
Lots of damage done to Merc there by the Goyo shield. He's going to be on a sliver just about. Shala will land the shot onto Rampy. So the first frag of the second round, and SSG bounces back by killing Merc with his own shield. That's the second time. I think all of the damage done to Merc was via the shields. So that's unfortunate for him. But there it is. You can see Bolo's trying to deny the wall getting opened up from below, but he's got the C4, not the impacts, so he can't do it as explosively as he'd like to. Thus, the workshop wall is opened up. The angle achieved, and Bosco can now play that angle to deny the shield play in A. There's lots of time for Space Station to continue this assault. They do not need to stop or rush. They can do anything they want right now, and currently Space Station are setting up for picks. They haven't gotten any yet, but they are looking like they will, as Canadian gets Chala, and Fultz finds himself in the site from platform. Beautiful headshot onto Geo, leaving just Bolo and Achieved. Stuns into the red hall. Plant going from Canadian. C4 used, no denial. And there's perfect coverage from the rest of SSG. The plant will be down. Post plant now. Nice push from Bolo. He does some damage, but no kill onto Canadian. A flank here from Achieved might get the Zofia. He sees the gun and lands the shot, but down goes his teammate. Now he has to find 3 kills. It won't happen. Mid-vault. Bosco will shut him down. And Space Station take the next round.
Surgical precision on that entry. Fultz gets the call that the site is open and free and clear, and he flies on in, exploits the rotate that was created by the defense, and cash is his. The man's not stealing checks, he's writing them. Well played by SSG in the way that they pressured construction and the way that they were able to completely avoid any confrontation inside of garage as well. Bolo, after taking a beating, was forced to fall off and go back downstairs through lounge, ascend red stairs, and it killed time. Yes, Malusi's at 3-speed. Doesn't matter. Bolo still needed 5 to 10 seconds. The problem is that because of the control and construction, and because of the fact that Fultz was in the middle of the bomb site, most notably over by CCTV, Bolo could not push up red stairs without getting caught in a crossfire. He had to play the best he could, and his only real option was a nitro cell that did not connect. A lot of this really came down to how SSG were able to very quickly get the wall open and then very quickly get construction. And that's what made it work so effectively, was how swift it was. Apparently there is a rehost being called. So we'll see if that's going to happen, or at least possibly a pause.
Yeah,
I don't know if they can pause the game and then have somebody drop out and come back in. I think that's the case, but
I think you can. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to say it definitively, but I have it on good authority that you can just pause and resume from once you left off. Oh, we'll go for a full rehost, it looks like. Those of you not actually, you guys can't see it, but
the Invisa shotgun.
Yeah. There was somebody shooting holes in a wall there with his hands. Anyway, yeah, all right. So let's then go over what we've seen so far, because that's what we've got to go on here.
Okay.
Thus far, you used the word surgical, I think, earlier, and I think that's an apt description of the precision we're seeing.
I did
displayed.
roughly 3 minutes and 12 seconds ago.
Thank you. I think that's an apt description of the precision we're seeing from Space Station surgical. They seem to be in their flow. Their strategies are being executed not swiftly, but well enough to end up winning those engagements against TSM. It almost looks like TSM is not on the right timing right now, because we're seeing them caught out of position a lot. Too many entries just for free going the way of SSG. And while Space Station aren't getting these rounds for free, they have to work for it significantly, like a lot, and TSM are biting back. It's just slightly off. And I think what you were talking about at the beginning of the map, the confidence that we're seeing from TSM is just not there. I think that's a good way of highlighting what's going on here, because there's been many opportunities, for example, for TSM to go for a flank, or to retake in unison, or to back off and trust their utility. And it's almost like most of those times the wrong decision is being made by TSM. In any kind of situation where they can make a reaction to their opponent, TSM is making the worst reaction, and it's putting them in really bad spots. Aside from that, again, to be simple about it, Space Station are winning their gunfights.
I'm a little confused, actually, because the one thing that we always sing the praises of for TSM is how they play a style of gameplay that allows players like Achieved, Bolo, and Merc as the big three. Obviously, Chala and Geo are capable of doing it as well. But how they play around those three players and force the rest of the teams onto their back foot hasn't been the case. If it's not happening on a map like Coastline, Coastline was picked by TSM. It's a friendly map for TSM. It fits the mold perfectly of the style of play that TSM wants to play. If it's not happening there, Michael, when is it going to happen? Now, I think the one question that we can ask is Space Station effectively shutting down the gunners from TSM? Or is it just that the TSM gunners aren't showing up and Space Station is doing fine, but they're not the sole reason why TSM is quiet at the moment?
I think it's a mix of both. We can't really pin this on any one thing. You know, of course, at this level, it becomes a little bit more nuanced and a little bit less cut and dry. So for me, I'm seeing lethality from the gunners on TSM. So it can't just all be them falling asleep. And I'm equally seeing Space Station put up an amazing line of assault here, round to round. I mean, to be blunt, Space Station is controlling their sectors well. When they go for an execute and they open up their walls, there's always one player on every inch of the site after that wall is open from Space Station. And the kills flow because of that. And the key, I think this is the most important thing. The timing is just better for Space Station. They are not overstepping their bounds at any point. No one on Space Station is rushing themselves or their team. They are methodically and mechanically executing every round, and then TSM are falling victim to that. Their timing has not been ideal. We've seen them so many times. An anchor getting caught out, wrong time, wrong place, unlucky though that be. It's a matter of positioning and a matter of timing, and it's something that TSM can improve upon. They've been trying to. I mean, look, they're doing the roam on the top floor right now. Look at this. They've seen TSM do this before. Last time they did it, though, it didn't really waste that much time. SSG were too quick to clear out these roamers. We didn't even mention it when it happened the last time because it was so fast.
I think it's also because our attention for that bomb site was heavily fixated on Fultz down in Oil Pit and the way that he was watching both Geo and Merc and Blue.
True.
This is obviously a very different approach from TSM as they're going to hold the top floor more aggressively. It's a unique bomb site to play off of because you can have roamers on the top floor, you can have them all on the bottom floor. There is a comfortable amount of room to stick all 5 of the defenders on the bottom floor. You don't necessarily need to hold the top. And yet some teams will do that. A lot of people, I guess, affectionately refer to it as the SSG strat here on Clubhouse, as it was largely popularized by Space Station when Mutant Mozzie were very much in the meta. Merc picks off Fultz, and that's down on Blue. Fultz had been a central figure here, and now down goes Bosco as well. Geo, okay. You turn and pick up 2 and then drop off. Thinking Nate finds the only kill for Space Station so far. This is what TSM needed desperately. 90 seconds burned off of the clock. All they've sacrificed is achieved so far. Lots of utility removed from SSG's lineup, and they are outnumbered right now. It's a 2v4 for SSG for the remainder of this round. And the best opportunity for TSM to take a round here on Clubhouse has presented itself.
I love the way that Geo just stood his ground and took that fight. That really is the perfect solution to the problem we've been seeing from TSM so far. If you're having trouble on the site hold, if you cannot get your timing right when SSG sets up for the execution, take the fight elsewhere. And yeah, that easily could have swung the other way. Space Station could have won that, but they didn't. The risk taken is rewarded. Well done to Geo. Yeah, they lost achieved in the process, but that is a absolutely killing blow. We'll see Thinking Nate and Rampy go for an Arsenal execution in through the pulse wall. Rampy gets one on the entry, but down goes his teammate, and Merc cleans up for the second kill. That's 3 for him in the round, I believe. And TSM will get their very first.
This is honestly what they need. That was probably one of the best rounds we've seen from Merc, with the exception of the lone round he and Bolo worked together on Coastline. Merc has been very, very quiet today. That cannot happen. Everybody loves to tout Bolo's performance on LAN. I think that's a given that he's going to play well regardless, but the rest of the team needs to show up. It cannot just be the Bolo show, despite what the viewership and chat might think, Michael. There is more to TSM than just Bolo.
There is?
Yes, there is Bolo and then Bolo teammate 1 through 4.
I've heard about those. I have.
Yes.
I hear they're pretty good. I hear they're not as good as Bolo, but yeah, I hear they're pretty good.
Bolo is outstanding on LAN, and I would go so far as to say that Bolo is probably one of the best players on LAN over the last year or so. And he shows up, and when he does, his team always does well. If you have somebody like Bolo capable of playing the way that he does, your team is almost always going to be in competition. The problem is that just competing isn't what TSM wants. TSM wants to win, and with the exception of DreamHack Montreal, this TSM roster has come up frustratingly empty-handed, but still frustratingly close in so many different events.
10 seconds left.
Yeah,
the rest of this TSM team needs to wake up. Merc's round, that round in particular, he gets a 3K. Obviously, the stats are reset, so you can't get a full scope of how well he's doing. But that was a big round from Merc, and it was largely just him working on his own. Obviously, SSG realized, they made the calculations, we need to push into the back of the bomb site, try to take control, and then hold those angles. And it's a strong spot to be in, playing off of that position, but TSM answered beautifully. They swung 2 players at the same time, and they ended up winning out on the gunfights. And just more engagements like that, breaking in TSM's favor, TSM landing their shots, understanding how to play off of SSG's positioning, and then these rounds are going to start to tighten up. Keep in mind, TSM is on the favorable side of Clubhouse right now. They really shouldn't be in a situation where they're trailing, even though they didn't pick this map. They should still be doing enough to stay in contention. And right now they are. We'll see what happens for this round, though, is that they're back to cash and CCTV. Wall gets opened up out on the balcony with Fultz watching it. SSG were swift to be able to take control of this bomb site before. Will history repeat itself?
TSM have done the same setup here, but there's a few small differences. The key thing that I want to take a note of is the way that TSM is setting up their workshop reinforcements. Normally, the logistics wall and the workshop single wall are not reinforced. The reason they're reinforced here is because TSM is trying to facilitate a prolonged and extended roam from Bolo over by Master. Now that the single wall has been opened up, Bolo is committed to his role. He will either kill or die at this position. His likelihood of rotating back to the site is slim, though there is a chance if he catches the person holding his rotation in an engagement and wins that fight. It'll be a difficult prospect for Bolo, but he is the type of player to perform those and get away with them. We'll see if he can pull it off here. Right now, TSM is focusing on delay and persistence. They want their players to stay up, they want the clock to run down, and they're not worried about much else. SSG, on the other hand, are going for a garage execution, which is a little bit of a different execution from what we've seen from in the past. Last time Space Station went for a workshop execution. This time, though, the garage execute is working. Down goes the garage player from TSM. That's Geo. With that player done away with, TSM is now in a really bad spot because Space Station can use garage to confront the anchors directly, and there's nobody playing downstairs right now for TSM. They'll need to change that if they want to have any success in this round.
Still trying to determine if garage is fully clear or not. Despite Rampy being in there, they'll drone down below. Smoke had met smoke earlier on as Bosco had tossed out one of his smoke grenades, answered back by the toxic gas of Chala. 20 seconds remaining for Chala to toss out the last toxic canister, and Merc also has a nitro cell ready. If SSG don't understand this, they will be running headfirst into a brick wall. Canadian attempting the plant. Where is the denial? There it is. Doesn't do enough damage. You'll have to get a smoke to go down, but they all miss. Nitro Cell finally gets it, but the diffuser goes down anyway. So now it's a scramble to try and retake the site for TSM. SSG have everything lined up, and they find 3 kills, 4 kills. Rampy in particular. Make that 5? No, Merc says not today, not yet at least. He's got a lot of work to do, though, and he won't be able to do any of it. Bosco seals the deal, and SSG takes their 3rd round through 5 here on Clubhouse.
most of that comes down to the fact that Canadian was allowed to get the plant down. You could see the smiles on SSG's faces. They know that they're winning this map strategically, and that much is being proven on the scoreboard.
Also, I was wrong. It's 3 rounds and 4. I was writing on the line below mine.
It's okay. You're gonna have those. They're gonna happen. We'll give you a free pass for now. I will stamp the ticket.
Nice.
Here you are, Parker.
Thank you.
So anyway, what was I saying? Canadian got the plant down. That's key. The C4, the first one, it went wide. Now, I assume this is because TSM doesn't expect a default plant. And I rightfully so. It's very uncommon for somebody to try and plant default when there's an obviously C4 in play and obviously still gas canisters in play. Why would you plant there? 20 seconds remaining? Plenty of denial in the defense? That makes no sense. But I'm sure that is exactly why Canadian planted default corner, because he knew it wouldn't make any sense in this situation. They're not going to throw their first C4 here. That's some that is some gigabrain stuff right there from Canadian. So, well played to him.
10 seconds to go.
We'll see if SSG can continue that with their well-executed strategies. They are looking very strong right now.
They do look significantly more prepared for this map, which is what we come to understand. SSG actually got to the point where they started banning this map because they knew that there were teams that were prepared for it. And it certainly seems like, whether it's just that TSM are not the strongest Clubhouse team at the moment, or that SSG kind of took this map out of rotation and said, let's workshop it. Let's go back and let's tinker away and then bring it back when we're ready. I don't know if that was the strategy behind it, but it's very apparent in this matchup so far. SSG being on attack against a team like TSM. One of the best teams in the world, one of the best teams in the region, and right now SSG through these 4 rounds, now 5, now I can say 5 round.
Yay!
To a certain extent, TSM has looked like mincemeat. They didn't look very strong on Coastline. I do somewhat agree with Jesse. The first half of Coastline was pretty even, but SSG definitely had the advantage. Jesse said that it very easily could have been a 7-0. I can see some reasoning behind that. I don't fully agree with it, but SSG was in control of that map. They are doing the same thing here. The worrisome part for TSM is that they have another match if they lose against SSG against Dark Zero lined up. They won't have much downtime. DZ are right now sitting, warming up. They are waiting the loser of this series. DZ obviously wants it to go on as long as possible because then you get tired out. Fatigue sets in. But if this TSM doesn't have time to bounce back, this is very, very bad against Dark Zero. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There is still a match to be played. Bolo gets taken down as the very first opening pick comes from SSG. Yet again, SSG has been exceptionally good on the opening duels so far in this series.
It's Fultz to get it. The man, the myth, the legend. He performed amazingly well on map number 1. And here on map number 2, he's also having a great performance. Keep in mind, the scoreboard has reset, so we don't have the full stats. And Fultz probably has more than 1 kill. Rampy will get 1 for himself. There you go. That's his 4th in 2 rounds. A nade from below. And now, TSM very much on the back foot here. Lots of time for SSG to continue their execution, and it gets better for them as they eliminate Chala. Merc will lose his tussle with Bosco, leaving just Geo in a 1v5. It's just not gonna happen. A flawless round for Space Station. They pick apart TSM 1 player at a time.
Merc's engagement, 23 damage done to Bosco.
It's rough.
You saw that not only was it a flawless round, Michael, it was a flawless round with minimal damage being done to SSG. That might have been the worst round from TSM that we have seen from them in this matchup so far.
I would agree with that.
Now, I know that the TSM fans are going to grow tired of us currently slagging off on how TSM is performing.
Can't avoid it.
I'm sorry if you feel that way. Maybe TSM should be playing a little bit better so we can use more appropriately hype language. But right now, through these 2 maps, there really isn't that much to look at what TSM has done and say, great job. This has been one of the worst series for TSM that I've remembered watching, period, in the last couple months. And you can't even necessarily give all that credit to SSG. This is not a situation where SSG is just playing better. Yes, we have given a lot of praise to SSG on how they're able to enter, how they are playing their utility and gadgets, how they are structured as a team. I don't think you can take anything away from the way that Rampy and Fultz are playing right now and how they're being enabled by this squad to just kill everything. But as much as we want to sing the praises of Space Station, we have to wag our finger at the way that TSM is playing, because this is not what they are capable of. TSM is indisputably better than what they've done so far in this match.
You know, the way that I see this right now is it looks like SSG is well aware of what to expect from their opponent, and they're just not letting TSM trip over themselves. That's how I would describe it. It's not an unavoidable, or it's not an unfixable problem here for TSM. They could certainly correct course right now, but you have to keep in mind, they've lost 4 defenses on Clubhouse. And I know that Thatcher is still in play, but no matter how you look at that, it's still very problematic. If TSM cannot salvage this round, then we'd have to have a pretty incredible Clubhouse for this to be a TSM comeback. And I just don't see it happening as it stands. I hope to be proven incorrect, though, because Space Station already took map number 1, and I want to see a map number 3. This series has the potential to be a pretty incredible one, but we just haven't gotten to see that yet.
Villa is also a good map historically for TSM as well. So if Villa is required, I mean, obviously this is a good map for both teams. It was really close yesterday when SSG played against DZ on it. SSG managed to muscle out a victory despite trailing for the vast majority of that map. They still ended up winning it. And what a lot of people referred to as a choke for Dark Zero, but I wouldn't necessarily use that kind of language. I would say that it was just a closely drawn contest where sides matter a lot. And sides do tend to matter on these maps. You know, we can get ahead of ourselves, and the novice viewer might watch this and think, wow, this matchup's over. Well, no, not necessarily. If the defenders usually win 4-2, then that means that TSM still has 4 more rounds to win. They just need to wait for the side swap. The problem is that TSM is starting on the side where you are usually expected to win no fewer than 3 rounds. TSM's not going to hit that mark. At best, they can salvage a second round here. If not, SSG puts themselves in an even more comfortable position, walking away with a 5-1-1/2 on attack on Clubhouse. That is almost always a death sentence for your opponents.
Here come the stuns and the nades and the execution to follow. The drop works out for Canadian. He is amazingly not killed on that drop. The C4 will likely get him. There it is. Merc stops him cold on the plant. Only 10 seconds left. Bosco will retrieve the diffuser. Second C4 possibly. It looks like the gas canisters are turned, but it's not going to matter. Great coverage from Space Station, but no plant in the 1v1. Bolo just needs to live, and he'll do just that. TSM salvage another round from the first half, ending it 4-2. Still favor Space Station.
Bosco was on the very final tick of that diffuser when he got felled by the smoke tossed out by Chala. TSM win that one by the skin of their teeth. That is not a convincing round win. So you now stumble into the second half, and TSM can pat themselves on the back with that one. SSG went for a very routine kitchen take. You open the hatch, you drop down, you have 2 people playing those angles, you have 1 person playing blue. You have a lot of power and control over the bomb site, because if somebody tries to rotate out of church, the openings that they've created that lead to the double door from church being watched from the hatch above. If somebody's playing inside a dirt tunnel, you have that control from the hatch above. Ditto if somebody's playing by dummy or by AK in the back, you have that control because of the hatch above. And you're tucked into the corner where Canadian was planting, where the only things that typically stop a plant there are, number 1, smokes. The gas canisters that are tossed out by smoke, that's your greatest adversary. Number 2, a well-placed nitro cell, especially if you're playing by boxes at the back. Or number 3, if you're low numbers and you don't have that hatch control, somebody swinging onto you, possibly with a shotgun from inside a dirt tunnel. Now, SSG's cover above was fine. It was good. Everybody from TSM that decided to pop up, well, they got gunned down. And even though the beginning of the execute tilted in TSM's favor, it was the fact that TSM couldn't fight back against the hatch control from Spacestation that evened the odds. As I said, it came down to a nanosecond. Bosco very narrowly got that diffuser down. If Bosco gets that diffuser down and then dies to the toxic gas, you still had Thinking Nate above. To watch the hatches, he needs to just play time and time alone. And Bolo, who's playing over by the main stairs, has two options. Either try to engage from below or retake. And Bolo's a talented player. It could have very easily still broken in favor of TSM, and I still think they probably would have prevailed in that situation. But that's way too close for comfort. And it's definitely not a motivation boost, knowing that you now have to go on to attack for the remainder of this match.
Roam upstairs for SSD. Merc to confront it. Merc to confront it on the ace. Interesting. Well, there are other hard breachers. Well, a other hard breacher. You've got your thermite here, but that's still unusual. He's going to be droning himself in too, but that's caught by a Mozzie Pest. Thinking Nade still unknown inside of Jim, and he will do a significant amount of damage to Achieved and finish him with the C4 because Achieved just got on drone. Rampy gets Chala as well, but refrag from Merc at least to entries into the bathroom. He's now got control in the bathroom itself, and we'll extend that into the hallway. You can see that SSG is aware they don't need to take any future fights. They still have the man advantage. We're going to leave. So Space Station have taken 2 minutes off the clock. Chala and Achieved, both of the SAS attackers. And now Space Station will wait out the clock, safe and sound in their sight. This also means that because Chala is dead, any wall with the mute jammer on it will not be opened up. And you could see that Thinking Nade, he doesn't have any. The question is, has he placed them on the church wall? That might actually be significant in the outcome of this round. It seems like no. That actually could change things, as could that kill. Merc getting Canadian is a great bounce back for TSM. And the wall is openable, given there's no mute jammers on it.
It looked like Canadian was trying to fight there and not necessarily peeking. He looks at the hatch and, well, his check doesn't work out. A 7th kill for Merc, who has really shown his stuff so far here on Clubhouse, despite his team trailing. 30 seconds remaining, and, well, they're going to have to hit the hatches as quickly as they can. This is going to be troubling for TSM. They instead opt for just taking church wall. There goes the first Selma. 20 seconds remaining in the round for these to go off. Will they be impact tricked successfully? That's the question. Down goes Fultz. Merc is great, but Thinking Nate has his shotgun out. One is prepared and ready. He finds another, turns around, 3 kills, looking for a 4th. He'll get it. Line him up, knock him down. Thinking Nate wins the round for his team. Upstairs, downstairs, it doesn't matter what part of the map. It's all his. A 5th round on the board as Space Station now tantalizingly close to 2-0ing TSM.
Thinking Nate, the man closest on the cam with the wonderful hair. Beautiful round from him. And Space Station, they are so tantalizingly close, as you mentioned, Parker. This could, remember when Jesse said it could have easily been a 7-0? I do think that for this map. While I agree with you, maybe you could contest that assertion for earlier map. This one here and now, Space Station are looking pretty darn dominant. I will say, however, that round was the best we've seen from TSM on this map, and that is including the rounds that they have won. Merc with a great entry on the top floor with the roam clear. The hard destruction worked out well enough. It looked like things were going to go TSM's way. Merc even got a kill through a wall. Wall banged them. Well done to Merc. I thought TSM had it, but Thinking Nate is just better in that instance. And when you are a team like Space Station who has the structure, who has the cohesion, the synergy is working out, and you're landing your shots, and then on top of all of that, the rounds where your opponent are doing well, you have an individual like Thinking Nate stand apart from the rest of the pack and put up performances like that. It's going to be really hard to beat that. Space Station are in stride. TSM, great round there, but still they lose it. Heartbreaker.
Yeah, it's absolutely demotivating for TSM, and Well, they've really struggled to find it. They really have. On Coastline, they have not been able to kick it into high gear, and now on Clubhouse, well, they're just trying to roll a ball uphill. Things are not working out the way they want, and they're going to need to recover ASAP because SSG are but 2 rounds away. That's it. And even if they do the same thing that we saw out of TSM for the remainder of their defense, 2 more rounds, that's good enough for SSG to put this one away, even if TSM wins 3. So a cash CCTV take for TSM is next in line. They'll take over from the west side of the building, which is over by Jim and Master. Folt's down below. He's got the hatch open so he can watch the wall into construction. Now, if you look at the hard breachers that are being brought from TSM, it's very likely that with the hatch being there and the wall being shot open, that if there's any hard destruction that does get used or put in that area, that he's going to be able to stop it. But the play from SSG seems to be that they're more concerned with the logistics wall rather than the construction wall. In fact, the construction wall has been shot open, giving Merc a great line of sight into cash. Rampy's going to be playing off this angle with a 1.5 to try and match the long-range optic that we see out of Merc. But Merc's positioning is going to be really important, not just because of where he is, but because of the fact that he's the top frag on the team, and he's playing a really crucial operator in Ace.
It's interesting that Fultz is trying to tease this flank. Very dangerous. There is somebody on the flank drone. TSM is well aware of this. They heard the footsteps, and they'll be trying to encroach on Fultz, but I think Fultz hears that, and he gets the heck out of dodge. Great call there from Fultz. He will persist and likely aid his team later in the execution. Hard breach going out here. Impact tricking to deny. The nades over to deny the impact tricking, but the impact tricking will persist. Rampy can dodge the nades thanks to the corner there on the doorway, and he has just successfully held on to the logistics wall. Great
Merc
kill.
gets the very first kill to start things off with here. Michael onto Rampy as the Legion tries to survive. Both Merc and Geo have been chewed up and spit out, but they're still very okay, and they've still got a gun in their hands, and that's all that matters. Canadians got a surplus of munition, but it's not going to be any good. Merc has been down, so Geo will fire back from the construction doorway. TSM are all pushing from roughly the same angle, and there's going to be toxic canisters raining on down. Chala's in, damage being done from Bosco. He's patrolling the area. He needs to play keep away, and he knows it. He takes out the Zofia, and Marks are coming in with the SMG in hand. All he needs to do is live. Plant going down. Bosco tries to clutch, but they peel off, and it's match point for SSG.
Beautiful moment of denial there. The Legion trap made it so Thermite couldn't plant immediately. And it's possible they won just on that Legion trap. But it could have also been the Jaeger at the top of red stairs denying Thermite the plant at the last second. I think it was the Legion trap, though. I'm sure we'll hear about that round in future talks about what happened in this match. But speaking of, match point now, Space Station. And not only match point, but series point. Once again, just as with the previous round, TSM looking good. They get the entries. They're racking up the kills. Oh boy, this is it. They go for the plant and stopped. Well done to Chala. He had a huge round there. Did great work denying the push into the site and distracting all of the attackers. Or not to Chala, pardon me. Excuse me. Well done to Space Station, the smoke holding on there. I think it was, I want to say it was Fultz. Did you catch who that was, Parker?
The smoke was Bosco in his typical spot on the rafters of Garage where he doesn't need to run a shotgun, so he runs the FMG and the SMG-11.
That's why I'm confused. Thank you. So, well done to Bosco. He was the hero of that round, no matter how you shake it down. There was still a Jaeger in play coming up from the red staircase, and it's likely even if the Legion trap hadn't stopped the plant, that he would have. That's key because Bosco is distracting on the rafters. He held on to that distraction for the majority of the execution, say 40, 50 seconds. He was trying to keep locked down, and he did just that.
Well, now SSG gets forced on since they've won the two sites previously. They get forced on to the least palatable, if we can call it that, which is Gym Master. There was an attempt here, just a single attempt by TSM. They did not go back to it after they lost. A flawless round, by the way, for Space Station on that one. This does tend to provide more avenues for the defenders to exert power with their gadgets onto where the defenders are sitting. The attackers can open up the wall onto Jacuzzi, which just got opened in the top left of your screen. And their next step is usually to pressure the bathroom where Thinking Nate is going to play. Why is Thinking Nade playing in there? Well, not only is it a good strategic spot for a Maestro, as he can just gun down people trying to push from construction, but he also has access to Impact Grenade. And if one of those walls remains soft, he can impact any of the hard destruction that gets put on the wall next to him. Construction has also been opened up by the exothermic charge from Geo, so now he's used both of his gadgets on the jacuzzi wall, construction wall, and Canadian seems to be quite committed to that construction hold as he just set down a deployable shield. Merc all on his own, as two separate members of TSM are now lined up. Grenade goes to get dropped on in, waiting for it to get tossed. Will Thinking Nade be the victim of an explosive end? No. Fate is on his side right now, as Achieved since the lobby was remade is still searching for his first kill. He's got one grenade remaining for later in the round.
Still plenty of time for Achieved to get his first kill, assuming TSM can start racking up some rounds. SSG continue to wait. They don't need to do anything else. This is I talked about this in map number 1, and I'm going to reiterate it here. Space Station have read into the fact that if TSM are allowed to set up, it doesn't seem to matter that much. TSM's executions just aren't proving to be that lethal. And that is why TSM is playing this patience game, because they know it'll get them the win in the end. Impact tricking misses, that's crucial. You might be able to land the second, but there's still plenty of Selmas where that came from. And with the second impact used, the rest of the wall will be opened up. Nade goes over. Thinking Nade is already repositioned. He wasted a lot of time. Only 30 seconds left for TSM to execute.
This is great for the way that Thinking Nade played it. He's got that weight in front of him that he can just simply hold off on. Rampy down below while he'll punish Bolo. Achieve takes some damage too, and Thinking Nade will just need to watch multiple angles. He's not going to give his position away. Watching and fighting a Phantom Force. 1 for Thinking Nade as there goes to jump in. 2 for him, 3 for him. Thinking Nade has been absolutely inhuman so far, and Bosco will seal the deal. An even more decisive map number 2, and it's a quick one for Space Station. They're in the grand finals tomorrow.
Well done to Space Station. A 2-0 and a confident one at that. It's not really any kind of result you can question, no matter how staunchly you support your team. Thinking Nade in particular on that last map really had a standout performance. My applause to him. Clap, clap. TSM need to sort some things out. That was a lackluster performance from them. It was not the TSM we expect, and they have to go right back into another match now. So they got to do it quick. They got to realize what the problem is and make a course correction no matter what it actually happens to be. We can only guess as to what it is. They know, I hope, and I also hope that they can correct it.
I hope so too, or else DZ are going to breeze their way through to the finals tomorrow against Space Station. Now, with SSG in the grand finals tomorrow, they guarantee themselves a map up over their opponents, and no matter what happens in this lower bracket match, it's going to be a rematch, as SSG's already faced DZ and just finished off TSM. There isn't as much to talk about with that map as you'd think, but still, we've got some pretty good analysts to talk it over. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Intero. And you know what, Kicks? You said you hope that TSM picks it up, but I'm gonna be honest, when Space Station Gaming are on land and they're playing like that, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. We saw great plays coming in. Thinking Nade, Bosco, Rampy, you name it. But fellas, analysts, Jesse, Jacob, let's watch these highlights and tell me how you feel about this series.
I don't feel good. Not just because I got a prediction wrong, which, by the way, is that never happens. I don't know why anyone ever thought that my predictions were going to be on the money. Right. But I'm a little confused.
Okay.
TSM didn't wake up after map 1. They still continued that not wake up mentality into map 2. The clutch plays didn't come from their side. It came from SSG. I want to go into detail a little bit more about it in a second, but okay. I'm very, very confused about what I just saw.
Jesse?
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think that this was a combination of Space Station playing really good and obviously TSM having a couple of struggles. Really, you got to give a lot of credit to Thinking Nade in this round. Him and Canadian both had some good rounds. This was less of the faults and Rampy show, which was neat. But, you know, still big props to everybody on SSG.
It felt so good to see him get hyped. But Jacob, you wanted to get in depth with something. Space Station was outgunning TSM. And when we talk about Team Solo Mid, we always spoke about their consistency, their fragging power, how good they are individually. We saw none of that today. And even Bolo, after the rehost, went, what, 0-6? Whew.
Yeah. It wasn't good. I think it comes down to them giving SSG a little bit too much respect. Sometimes if they take a long time on a roam clear and when they're droning, it's not nearly as quickly. They're not being aggressive, or they're not being flashy. They are allowing SSG to get into their heads, and because they think they need more operating time to be able to, to move through sites or to set up or whatever it might be, that's giving SSG all the space that they require to capitalize really, really easily. TSM they had a really, really good series against OXG yesterday, so I thought they can bring some of that attitude in, but when you face the world champs on LAN, it's obviously a different play. You just need to find a way to not allow them to invade your brain while you're playing them. That's the only thing I can really think of. SSG being so good on LAN, and TSM just fell off.
It's kind of like they were in their heads right now. I was imagining, what if the PlayStations were right next to each other, like, the regular pre-COVID lands? I can hear Canadian yelling right now, right? But Jesse, actually, this is going to be for the viewers out there, meta alert. Jesse, you saw specific setups around CCTV, and pretty sure the audience out there would like to hear what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, so there's this way to hold CCTV cache where you open up the construction wall into cache and you reinforce into logistics, and you reinforce that wall construction to the outside. And this is something that Disrupt really started to experiment with, I think, before anybody else. And you basically have extended your bomb site into construction. Now, both of these teams actually ended up trying it out. And neither of them really found a lot of success with it. TSM, the wall got opened up pretty easily with a Thatcher on the board. It's pretty easy to open up that logistics hatch and then go for, a pretty clean take inside of construction. Spacestation did win their round, although it was more just due to a goo mine inside of, CC in those final couple of rounds that was able to win it for them. So still, they were able to open up the wall, TSM were, and make that work. I think it's a good strat, and it's something that we don't see very often, but just with a Thatcher on the board, it can be really difficult to hold on to construction. There was some good impact tricking, I thought, from Spacestation. Their hold was a little bit better due to those impact tricks.
Yeah.
But overall, the hold not really working out for either of these two teams because of the Thatcher.
Yeah, and there's something that's jarring on your screen right now. Production was going to take this away, and I said, don't do it. Don't do it at all. We give TSM all the praise in the world, and rightfully so. These individuals are amazing. But if Bolo and the Chief got together, they could play the drums. But it's with those two drumsticks, that is a scary stat line to see, isn't that right, Jacob?
Yeah, we hyped up Achieved yesterday, we hyped up Bolo today, and I kind of regret doing that. Merc still held his own, though. He had a pretty decent performance in the last map. In this one, he had to find some way to carry his team, and he did, but that's still a 9-7 stat. He's still doing his job on the entry. He's got the most opening frags, but by that same token, if the rest of his team can't back him up, then what he's doing on his entry role really can't help the rest of his team out anyway.
Right, now... Oh, go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
No, and I want to say, I think that was back-to-back maps. We're thinking they'd got 100% cost. I could be wrong.
I believe so, yeah.
He's impacted every single round that's been played today. That's pretty extraordinary.
You're right. And by the way, we have an interview with Canadian coming up right now. Canadian, how you doing, man? Please tell me you hear me.
Yeah, I can. Doing pretty good.
Let's
still.
go. Oh, I'm sorry about that, man, but we're gonna try to push through while production gets that squared away. But congratulations, once again, you're in the finals, and I gotta ask you, Canadian, you don't have to be humble, but when it comes to LAN, are you the kings of this shit?
I mean, it comes a lot, dude. This echo, I can't talk. It comes a lot
it's all right.
Our work ethic. Oh my god, I can't.
I'm sorry, I said a bad word, the echo. I apologize, man. So, is it okay
can
now?
Can I remove this? No. It comes in late, and I can't think.
Right. It's okay though. If you can get through it, I just want to ask you just a few questions, the small ones.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to LAN and preparation against TSM, what really helped you guys out? Because it seemed like everyone just excelled, especially in the fragging department. We saw Bosco and Thinkinade play absolutely insane against them.
Yeah, Bosco and Nade they're way better on LAN. They hold a lot of angles, and it amplifies their gameplay so much more, and we just focus on teamwork, and I don't know. It's all good. I'm talking so slow because of this echo. Oh my god.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, you know, Canadian, we'll spare you the pain. We're going to end this interview. I'm just going to give you just, you know, a few seconds to say thank you to the supporters out there. And tell them to tune in tomorrow as you guys, in your eyes, dominate the competition in championship game.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Oh, all right. Well, see you later, Canadian. I'm sorry about the echo. All right.
Welcome to land.
You know what? I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that because I purposely I accidentally said a bad word, but I thought it was gonna be a hype piece, and then Canadian couldn't hear me. But it's okay. But as we get ready for the next match, I just want to highlight one more thing, right? The clutches that we saw from Space Station around CCTV again. Was that nostalgic or what? Like, Jacob, did you think back to SI when we were sitting together watching Thinking They do that, and then we saw Bosco do it with a 4K as his teammate killed the planner?
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of SI throwbacks. I mean, it's not even just SI. SSG have always historically been one of the best, if not the best team on Clubhouse regardless. Whenever you think of Clubhouse in the back of your head, you kind of always think this is a Space Station thing because they helped define an entire roam clear, an entire roam setup that attackers need to clear themselves. It's named after them. So it's a really, really iconic thing for them to have. And I definitely had the throwbacks. The only question is, can that hold up tomorrow in the grand final? Because they made it. They pushed through the upper bracket. They're all the way in that grand final with a one map up. The question is it TSM or Dark Zero that's going to beat them there in the end?
Well, we're going to find out. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you at home, just, you know, stay put. We'll be right back after the short break. But then we're going to have our second elimination game. It's going to be Team Solo Man that you just saw on screen facing off against your August major champions, Dark Zero. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.
Nice shot for me. Perfect.
Oh my god.
Oh, he did not do that to Sam.
Jared?
Oh my god, he's so good.
They're a number right now.
Oh,
it's an ace!
Woo! Ace, let's go, baby! Let's go!